He's ready to go.
I didn't see him nod.
He already nodded that one over there.
Oh,
Did it again.
thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for November. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, I hope everyone had a nice, enjoyable, relaxing holiday. And this is our last meeting of the year. We will not have a workshop or a meeting in December. So at this time, I wish everyone happy holidays and happy New Year. Also, even if you're not speaking, we need to have you on record. So if you haven't signed in, you don't need to run and sign in right now. You can sign in as you walk out the door. But we just need to have a list of everyone who is here participating in this meeting. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes from our October meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Also move.
Has it been, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting October 24th, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes approved.
Madam Chair, question. Did anyone, John, that you know of on the town staff attend the Transportation Master Plan presentation at the County Planning Commission meeting?
I was unable to attend. I don't think anybody did. Carl wasn't able to make it either. But
Okay.
Hannah will be coming in. She's running a little late because of traffic.
Well, maybe she can summarize it for us, or
Very
or
possible.
if we think it's necessary, maybe we ask for a copy.
Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment. I was unable to attend.
Our next item of business is the citizens' comments. These are comments for things that are not on the agenda, for items not on the agenda. I'm going to ask our staff to please time you. You have 2 minutes for your comments. John will give you a 1 minute, well, no, a 30-second. Sorry, I'm thinking fine. A 30-second alert when you're down to 30 seconds. If what you're saying, someone else has said, it would be, we would appreciate it if you would give your time up or say something different. If you were going to say what someone else said, but you have other things to say, then say those things. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask you if anyone has any comments to please come forward to the microphone, state your name and your address. Anyone have any comments? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. You're saying that Hannah, the planner, is running late, so we will move. When she comes in, then we will go to the planning report, the Carroll County planning report. Right? Next is the reintroduction and discussion of text amendments and ordinance 2022-32, the proposed modifications to the MXUCC zone. We had started this discussion at our last meeting, did not finish. So we'd like to pick that up. Trying to find it. Thank you. I think one of the things that we were discussing was the
Item number 6. The sale of the alcohol products for off-site consumption.
On page,
Page
these are,
204, number D6.
okay.
And I think I did talk to Carroll County Liquor Board staff there, and she was recommending that we reword that to basically say, not allow a Class A business, Class A liquor license to be located at that premises or on that site, which would eliminate the packaged goods stores as it would be, which would be alcohol, wine and beer to be sold there. Any restaurant has the ability to sell alcohol for off-site consumption, either one bottle, two bottles, a case. So that's, I think, how we should possibly reword number 6 to possibly say, not to allow a business, any type of business with a Class A liquor license. And on that note, there are no more liquor license allowed on the Carroll County side inside the town of Mount Airy currently. They've exhausted the allowable alcohol sales within Carroll County. Not to say somebody couldn't move their license if it wasn't in here from a current location to this location, if they weren't excluded.
Okay, that kind of settles it then, doesn't
And
it?
that includes licenses for restaurants,
No,
liquor license, just,
Class
just.
A.
Class
Oh,
A.
I'm sorry, yes.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, may I, okay, I just want to get out there to say,
Okay. All right, Carl.
okay, thank you. I just wanted the rest of the commission to have a chance to speak. I would like, there is a liquor license that would still allow restaurants to serve beer, wine, and liquor on site and still restrict the off-site. I believe it's called a BR liquor license. I've got the code sites if anybody wants it, but if I'm understanding it right, the restaurant's allowed to sell on-site for consumption on-site, but not off-site. And it's pretty similar to the other restrictions that a restaurant would have to follow if they had a normal beer, wine, or liquor license. So if we can word it somehow where a restaurant has to be there under, that they can only be restricted to a BR liquor license, I would appreciate it, because I believe our LC code, zoning code has similar languages in it that restricts to on-site consumption at restaurants only also. And primarily, since the north end of town is a residential area, I believe businesses that go there should fit the surrounding neighborhood.
Can you give us the code site?
All right, if I can, maybe, it is Annotated Code of Maryland, Alcoholic Beverages, Division 2, Provisions Affecting Individual Jurisdictions, Title 16, Carroll County, Subtitle 9, Beer, Wine, and Liquor Licenses. The specific section of code is Section 16-904, titled Class BR, Beer, Wine, and Liquor License.
All right, and the name of the code is alcohol? You familiar with that, Tom?
Hold on,
The alcoholic beverages, according to this,
Do you have your mic on, Tom?
sorry.
We got to pull it a little closer too, if you could.
that's where
This says the Maryland alcoholic beverages article. I'm going to have to check
I'm
that.
not familiar with that either, but maybe. Maybe we just never had need to
Exists.
look at it.
Yeah.
Is that the same wording as the LC you said
Yeah,
it was?
no, because he's got the county.
So
This is
he
Hold on,
actually
wait.
has the county code that he
the
pulled
county
up.
code.
Oh,
Ralph did.
okay.
I don't think
This
there's
is
a,
Title 16.
Yeah, so for the public, we're talking Class A because that's limited to what we often refer to as package stores.
Right.
And Class B includes restaurants. There is a category of Class B that is called BC for restaurants that also do outside catering. But there's no BR at the county licensing commission.
Yeah, I was trying to look at the county. County didn't list it. That's why I went to the state code, because I know the state sets the county, and this is the specific, annotated code for Carroll County, specific jurisdiction. So I'm not questioning, it's just, when I tried to look online at the county level, it was kind of difficult to follow what the exact type of licenses that Carroll County offered.
Yeah, and again, to just kind of echo, I think, what everybody understands, I think the aiming of this edit to the ordinance is to aim at the Class A businesses.
Yeah.
Right, correct?
Well, the packaged goods, but I'm also looking at, concern with the off-site sales of someone coming into a restaurant. A restaurant could set up as I want to say under-the-table packaged goods is the wrong term, but they still have the ability to do packaged goods in a liquor store, but a lot of people probably aren't aware that they could walk into a restaurant now and,
I think that, my interpretation of that is that it's a cork and carry. So if you're drinking from the bottle there, you can purchase it and take it home. You don't go in and ask.
yeah, that's what
You
I'm.
can't go in and ask for
Okay,
it,
maybe
just
we need-
specifically for wine at the restaurant.
Yeah, and that's what I'm not trying to limit a restaurant's sales. I just don't want them to be able to say, come by, because the town is not lacking liquor, places to purchase alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, I don't. We didn't see anything about, she didn't say anything about tasting rooms or anything like that. I think that's probably too new.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't ask about tasting
Okay.
rooms. I was asking about specifically
Or if
packaged
a
goods sale
resteurant,
or off-site
right.
sales.
And that happens if a restaurant would have a tasting of a winery. Some of them have what they call, they'll do like a wine dinner, where they match a wine with each course as you go down. And I don't know if they're allowed to purchase at that point in time or not.
Well, prime example, let's say Vimo or whatever, the wine store here, the Superfoods, they have tastings and they sell bottled wine, possibly a corked bottle or a corked bottle that you've had uncorked, and you can purchase more bottles afterwards. So, and the same thing, are we restricting them? If Superfoods wants to move up there and have a wine store and they're doing tastings and they're selling wine for off-site, it seems overstretching, in my opinion, because I don't know how you're going to enforce it, unless you're out there with your binoculars, it just seems, and again, I'm not even sure if Carroll County, if that's even,
And
they allow.
that license that they have was provided by Carroll County, because I remember seeing the application for that. Okay. Well, that's a precedent that's been set.
I don't see anything in the limited commercial.
yeah,
Regarding-
it's actually 11237
Yeah.
C14
Oh,
is
C14, okay.
what it says.
Restaurants without drive-throughs or sit-down bar areas serving alcoholic drinks only for on-site consumption by restaurant patrons. Restaurant without drive- Or sit-down bar area.
Which is very convoluted, because,
Yes.
Serving alcoholic drinks only for
yeah.
on-site consumption.
or with a sit-down bar area.
Yeah, you would think it would be better to use a definition that already exists, like in the code, in the county code, or in the state code, or,
License class.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, existing, I'm not sure why Carroll County doesn't have a BR, but it is in the state code, and the state code dictates down to the county the particular licenses that they can have. So we would not be restricting a restaurant in any such way if we just limited them to a BR. I'm not sure if Carroll County just has the ability, just might not have ever issued one, or I'm not exactly sure. but I believe it is still an up-to-date legal, it hasn't been removed from state code, right, the BR license? Do you know, Tom?
No, I mean, it looks current.
It is current.
Just pulled it
You
up.
put- I am not familiar with any restaurant that I've gone to that does the cork and carry. So
It doesn't do it?
it does do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
I thought you could do that anywhere in the state.
No.
You could
I
go and
think-
buy a bottle of wine,
It's allowed
you
by
don't
the,
finish it,
Yeah.
you can cork it and take it with you.
I
believe
think
that was
that's-
under the O'Malley administration.
Yeah, I think that that's right.
it's allowed at any
O'Malley
restaurant.
did that, and he also did it where you could order wine on from a Napa winery, and they could ship directly to you. Before O'Malley, you couldn't have,
Yeah.
Right, I know that, yeah, no, I knew that. But, I mean, you know,
Just never asked.
I guess, I mean, my husband was in the restaurant business for years, and
Well, maybe.
they never, I mean, and it was a fairly, updated restaurant, so I'm not,
Well, and again, with the liquor license the restaurant gets, if it's a BR license that Carl's recommending, then it would restrict them to not being able to sell outside sales. But a restaurant has the right to sell a bottle of wine, a case of wine, one bottle open, one bottle not open. They have the right to do that as part of their license.
okay.
It's restricted. And that's what the R probably is be restricted or something.
Okay, I just guess some, you can, some restaurants just don't do it.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Oh, sorry.
So does anyone else have any questions? I mean, I definitely agree that we have to limit it and not allow the Class A liquor license there.
Correct.
But the other I'm fine with. The Class B license, I'm fine with. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay,
Okay, so let me just clarify. So the Class B is where you can go in and eat and buy wine, but also buy a case of wine, or you don't have to go in and eat, you can go buy a case of wine.
Ralph, does the county code define, sorry, I don't have, I just printed up the BR, sorry, Leslie.
I've never,
Leslie, when I was reading through the beer wine section of the state, there's several different of Class Bs. There's like BC, B, one for a hotel, restaurant, and then there's several different classes of a Class B.
So the class we're going after here is the
I don't think so.
wine bar
Class B.
or a Class B that's able to have a tasting and have someone purchase a bottle to go home.
That's fine. It's just
Okay.
like, well, I'm just more
But
concerned
we're
with
not
like,
doing a
say,
packaged goods location that sells ice and coolers and, you know,
Exactly.
cases of beer. We're not doing that.
Right.
no,
So we just
that's,
need to figure out what that classification is and put it in here.
bingo, exactly. Yeah, that's what I don't want to package good. A restaurant, it's like there's several just up the street. Above is like you go in the back, it says packaged goods, liquor, packaged goods sales available, which I don't believe would fit into the neighborhood. And I'm not trying to limit a restaurant saying, say, a wine tasting, hey, we have extra, a local winery comes, pairs up with a restaurant, and so, yeah, I can sell you the bottle, as long as it's just affiliated with the tasting that's going on. I don't want that, them to get in trouble for that if they, want to sell a bottle of wine affiliated with a wine tasting going on there.
what about like if this miscellaneous distillery approached me and said they wanted a tasting room there?
Same thing.
Yeah,
That's what I'm aiming towards.
well, as long as they
tasting location that can
serves food, because that's the thing, all the restaurants that when I went through the state needed to
Miscellaneous doesn't serve food.
bingo, that they want to be able to do it, but even for a beer wine license, they all have to serve food.
What some spots do to get around that is they have a food truck on Friday nights.
What,
Frank, can you come up to the table?
Yeah,
Yeah, Frank.
Frank.
Frank can table. Oh, no, I'm not arguing, Frank, I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to figure it out here too, Frank. Yeah, I know.
You weren't here last.
No, I wasn't. I was on vacation, so I'm trying
The
to.
one discussion that came up was, what about if one of the local wineries or miscellaneous distillery wanted to have a tasting room? The way it was written, that wouldn't even be an option there. Because it was miscellaneous has a tasting room because they want people to come in, sample their product, and say, oh, I'll take a bottle of this or a case of this, and I'm gonna give it out for Christmas presents, or
Well, what type of license would they, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't know I'm not an expert when it comes.
No, me neither. It's, I'm not
Well,
questioning, I'm not sure what
I
type of
mean,
license
they have tastings. I mean, they have tastings. You can go in there and taste their
Yeah.
product. So so they essentially have tastings.
A distillery is allowed in
Is-
the DTZ, so.
And it may be different
Distillery.
if it's, where they're doing their tasting now is where their actually distillery is.
Correct.
Yeah,
So if
they go
it's an
off-site.
off-site
might
and
be
it's
a
just strictly a tasting room, that might be a different classification.
Station.
They'd have to probably stop tasting here and have to move their tasting room there. And could still distill here on premises downtown.
Yeah,
But their tasting room, they're licensed to taste, possibly you would move up there. Again, I'm not a liquor expert, so,
yeah,
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 Those are the good type of possibilities that I could see
yeah,
when we go there.
yeah. I'm trying,
Besides a restaurant.
yeah, that's what I'm not trying to, I just don't want the off-site.
that's
I'm
why
not-
I think we just classify it to Class A, eliminate the Class A license. And again, the Class B or BR or whatever it is, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know, I just feel
I
like a
mean,
packaged goods store is what we
It's,
should.
it's just that when I went through, I was just, when I went through everything, it was like every restaurant, beer, wine restaurant needed to serve food. So it would be dependent on, I'm just saying the what if, say if a winery or miscellaneous wanted to move the tasting room up there. I'm not sure if there would be a license classification that they could fall under up there as an off-site thing. That's the thing. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not looking at you guys, like the Maryland liquor laws are convoluted to begin with.
Right, their brewing, their distillery license might give them the
Allow
option
them.
to have, like I'm trying to say,
Yeah, sorry.
tastings. They might not be able to have an off-site tasting room, or they'll have to acquire a
That would be
different
different type of
license.
license.
Right, they might have to get a
Right.
different license. But again, so are we restricting that type of license? It sounds like that's a potential candidate for, taking up a space maybe, or somebody similar to that. But again, just like the brewery down here, they brew beer, they sell beer for on-site and off-site consumption, and they don't serve food.
Yeah,
It's their type of license.
yeah.
It's in the downtown zone. So I think we need a little bit more clarification and homework on this to find out about the tasting rooms
Yeah.
and all the different licenses. And I move that we postpone discussion until our meeting in January.
Okay, and what I'll do is maybe I'll ask Keith, who represents and is the enforcement officer for the county.
That would be great. That would be
President.
where we need to do.
Because he might be able to give us some clarification. And also, I'll ask about the BR license.
Yeah.
Through Carroll County,
Yeah. Thank you. I'm not
for
trying
the
to.
next meeting.
There is somewhat of a precedence in this thing because we have it happening, but it's in the downtown zone. So we've really got to lock this down because we don't want to be inconsistent. We're trying to not be inconsistent. So I move that we postpone the decision until their January meeting. Is there a second to that?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. We postpone further discussion on ordinance number 2022-32 until our meeting in January. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Sorry, we just want to make sure that we're getting it consistent. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm not,
Who's second? Yeah, who's
Brian seconded. Yes. So our Carroll County planner just walked in, so we're going to, before we go to item 6, we're going to, back to item 4. Hi, Hannah.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. You made it. That's the important thing.
There was 4 accidents on 15 coming on 70.
Oh my gosh.
I left my house at 6:20 and I just got here. But
But I wasn't on the road today.
so not many updates. As you know, we're talking with the Planning Commission about the Transportation Master Plan. The Mount Airy chapter was presented at our November business meeting, and the recording is available online. And I also sent John the chapter that was presented. It's mainly just improvements like that everybody has talked about, Center Street, Century, all of those were discussed. And then that was about it. Planning Commission didn't really have any other comments regarding the Mount Airy chapter, but they'll still be going. This is just the municipal chapters, and then we're gonna go through Plan Major Street chapter, Vision and Goals chapter, so on and so forth. So this is the very beginning of the process with the Planning Commission. And then the annual report is around again. I sent John and Deb an email about that. We are going to do a kind of new procedure this year where you guys will be certifying the information you send before it is sent to the county. That way, we don't have to bring it back to you guys, even though you're the ones that submitted the information. So it was kind of just eliminating a step that didn't really need to be there. And I think that's it for me.
What does certifying the report entail? What do they want to see?
Well, it's just the information that has happened in Mount Airy throughout the past year. So approved concept, development plans, residential, commercial, industrial.
Oh, okay, I
any ordinances, annexations.
Yeah,
So,
no, I
yeah.
knew that. I didn't know if there was any special,
Well, I think what she's saying is I'll present the report possibly in January for your approval
Okay.
and signature of the letter, and then you'll be good to
Yeah.
go. That's what you're
Okay.
saying, right?
Yep, just to make sure that all the information submitted to the county has been looked over by Planning Commission and certified by them before we put it into
Okay.
the actual booklet with all the other municipalities.
okay, thank you.
And I'm
Madam-
95% done.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
Speedy.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, quick question. You mentioned a couple of Mount Airy specific avenues and thoroughfares. Can you recall, and I know you're working from memory on the session, was there anything specific to Route 27 widening, expansion, state study?
Yeah, well, not a state study because this is just the county transportation plan. So it's recommendations. We hired a consultant in 2020. So they went out and did multiple traffic studies around the entire county. So the chapter that was presented was the information that they collected during that time. Yeah,
And that is online.
correct. Yep.
But to your point, Ralph, I think we're number 5 on the category for
Yeah, on
27.
on the entire priority letter this past year, Maryland 27 was the lower priority on the letter.
But we're on the letter.
Yes, on the letter.
Great. I mean, it's just an obvious statement for the public also, is we need to echo a lot of that in our own master plan transportation
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah.
And reflect a lot of the county thinking on that. So, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else? Great, thank you. No, we don't have a meeting in December.
Okay, sounds good.
Happy holidays, Happy New Year.
John, I would suggest that to facilitate better awareness and more productive discussion by this group, that if you could, as we are working our way through, elements of our plan, you take and you share with us, what the county says about those same topics, so we are aware of the pertinence of
Yeah,
them.
this was kind of the main one that I, like, as John and I discussed, the main one that's kind of overlapping simultaneously as you work through your master plan and we're working through the transportation master plan. But John and I have been talking a lot about all of the changes that could possibly be happening in the transportation chapter and then implementing that in our master plan, because obviously we want them to coincide. And then when the transportation master plan is all put together, said and done, all the municipalities will have a chance to review it
Okay,
in
great.
whole. But there's obviously a bunch of time for public comment before then.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
The next item, we're going now to the 6 introductions and possible approval. We're looking at, yes, sir.
The Frederick County planner, is that happening tonight?
He is not here, no. He will not be here this evening.
Okay. We have some residents that would love an update on Regler, so,
Riggler's dead.
well, for us it is. But as far as the Frederick County planning side,
You'd have to contact Frederick County.
Yeah.
oh, us, well, he was on the agenda, so. So, okay.
Okay, thank you. So the next thing is ordinance, is 20-0032, Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, Lot 7A. This is the final plan for the Cube Smart mini storage expansion. So John, do you want to give us the,
So this is the final plan for 7A, the multi-use, excuse me, one second, let me turn the projector on so we can see the plan here. Let me just turn off the one set of lights because it's very difficult to see. All right. Again, so this is the final site development plan in front of the Planning Commission for approval. This is a Lot 7A, which was the combination of Lot 8 and 7 to the Twin Ridge Professional Park. That was an amended plat that the Planning Commission approved back in October 2021, AP 20-079. Again, 7A is 5.78 acres in the Twin Ridge Professional Park. The amended plat we have received and is going to be recorded. We finally got the deed of easement that's being reviewed by our town attorney currently, and then will be recorded simultaneously with the plat in Frederick County. The proposed site plan layout contains a total of 9 buildings. 3 of the buildings will be 2-story buildings. Total square footage enclosed is 91,000 square feet out of the 9 buildings. One of the 2-story buildings will be along Rising Ridge Road, and that'll be the main office located kind of, let me get the pointer here. This again is Rising Ridge Road here. This is the main office. You can kind of see the office in the corner here. Again, the property is sort of a double tier. This is more of a uphill grade to kind of into this point here, and then it slopes down to Parkside Drive. Park Ridge, I'm sorry, thank you. Park Ridge Drive. One of the Planning Commission's big concern at the concept plan was that this building here had more of a architectural block at the back of it facing Park Ridge Drive, which there is an elevation here as well that we can look at. Again, this is from the Rising Ridge frontage, showing the office and the entrance. And then this is the rear elevation on Park Ridge. One of my big concerns is part of this site development plan, or this final approval, is the pylon style sign. This is the first time that I saw this prior to, after I'd already written my staff report. This was added at the last minute. So I'm really concerned about this detail, and I think the Planning Commission needs to determine if they're going to allow this type of signage at the front of the building. And again, the staff recommendation is to conditionally approve the final site plan of Lot 7A for Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, subject to the following conditions of approval. You want to read all those for you, Roxanne, or?
I just, if any of the commissioners have a question about any of those conditions, I don't think we need to read them. It's in the report.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
two quick questions. I noticed in the staff report, it speaks to a Park Ridge entrance specifically for emergency vehicles, which would also serve as an exit from the storage facility business onto Park Ridge. But I can't see that cut into Park Ridge anywhere. Am I missing it?
There's currently there's already an access point that's shared by this lot here, which is, I think, 6, Lot 6 currently is a building that's constructed there.
Okay, so the Park Ridge would be through that other lot, through an
They already
easement?
have an existing entrance off of Park Ridge. And this will just be accessing that same entrance.
Okay.
If I can, there was, when Park Lot 6 was developed, there was a requirement of a shared access drive that would be shared by both Lots 6 and 7. So this plan continues that with using that access and no new curb cut onto Park Ridge Drive.
Okay.
There is an existing curb cut.
Yes, it's already being used by business on Lot 6.
And then as a part of that, my final question is, if the is the easement agreement for that mutual use in place?
I have to look, I think it probably is because you can't, it was platted as a shared driveway. So I didn't get a chance to pull it off, but generally, it's either guaranteed by the plat or there's a separate easement to go along with it.
Or a separate agreement, easement agreement. deeded,
Easement
yeah.
agreement, yeah.
Okay.
Which might need to be modified because of Lot 7, becoming Lot 7A now, or do you think?
We'll look into it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, once everyone else is done, I got a couple.
Yes. Okay.
Am I? Okay, I wanted to go. During the initial discussions on Building I believe we were discussing changing the shade of the block from a grayish to a brownish. Was that ever finalized?
That, I do not recall that ever being questioned to make it brown. I think that the site has a lot of white and gray. So what we've done on the shading of that side of the building is light gray, dark gray, so that there is a contrast and not just a solid mass of a
Yeah,
stone.
One big white.
yeah, that's around. I'm just trying to go from memory during the discussions over 6-7 months ago, so. And weren't there some discussions of potentially the fence line on the backside on the Building I being the fence line instead of having it behind a fence line? So that people traveling up Park Ridge wouldn't be looking at a fence line every time they go up and down? I can't remember.
I don't recall that
Yeah.
ever being, and generally they, let's see, where did I?
Or maybe not a chain link fence or something.
I think the chain link fence ended into the end of the building, if I remember the site plan correctly.
I believe so.
Okay. And just,
It ends, it connects into the side of Building I.
okay, I just wasn't,
So there's a clean textual feature of that
okay.
stone siding.
And just one more, Ron, and I'm not sure if we ever discussed this, or I just want to mention that I'm still concerned with if there's any lighting involved with, I'd say, Building A on the second floor where the glass is at night, mainly the brightness, if it's on during when no one else is there, like it's just like a glaring wall of glass and light on all night or something, would it be motion controlled at night during?
Every self-storage that I've been in, everything is motion controlled because it costs money
Okay,
for electric bills. So when I turn the corner to go to a locker, if it's dark, I stop and the lights come on for it. So it's the same throughout the entire building. When it's occupied, the lights will be on.
or someone walks
When
to
it goes to off hours, you would have a key to get in up till 10 PM. But once you enter, lights would go on for that motion
Okay,
detected.
yeah. I mean, I just remember driving by some in Frederick, like the U-Haul at 15 and 70, it's bright at night, the glass wall and things of that. And since there's residential property over that way, I just want to minimize the light pollution over on that side too. So
Is
that's it.
Is the Cube Smart on the Building A, is that backlit at all times? Is that going to be backlit?
I believe it is backlit,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so commission members, do you have any questions?
I do.
Go, yeah.
It needs to be turned on.
Was on, and I must have bumped into it. So as I'm sure you recall, way back, a lot of the residents were concerned about traffic on Park Ridge. And I had thought that it was decided that that would only be for emergency vehicles. But you're saying it's also, will be an exit for any vehicle that's.
No, a maintenance vehicle. If there is a maintenance vehicle, facility vehicle
Okay,
in there, the only gate that would be key coded for access by users would be off of Rising Ridge Road, because they need to be able to have a record that somebody has left the site there.
and then they would have to exit the same way.
They have to go out the same way.
So other than emergency vehicles and maintenance.
Or a maintenance vehicle would be the only ones that would use that gate.
Nobody will use that gate, except for a maintenance vehicle.
No one renting space
Okay.
would be able to use that gate.
Okay.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Steve.
To the gate, it was previously brought up about, was it actually necessary for emergency vehicles to get through there? Were you asked by fire or police to have a second exit or entrance?
We were not asked by fire or police to have a second entrance.
Okay.
It's a pretty long site to just have one
And
entry point for fire.
there are currently trees and all there right now, too, that would have to come
Is
out.
your mic on?
There are currently trees at that location that would have to be taken out, so.
No, that's not, we're not taking out street trees.
No, but on the driveway there's,
On the driveway,
on the shared driveway, there's trees.
I'd have to, I don't think so on our property. I mean, the shared driveway there would not be.
They're there. The other thing, to Carl's point, you are correct on everything you mentioned. There was talk about maybe blending in, changing the color scheme, and the fencing as well. Is there any reason the fencing around the whole property can't be different than it is? To kind of blend in with the rest of the town fencing instructions? I know there's another storage unit in town too that has like wrought iron fencing or aluminum fencing.
We've chosen in an industrial zone, chain link fencing. We see that throughout industrial zones.
And the landscaping choices, I was going to bring up, there's really not any native species that you're putting in. And all of the projected locations are all between the industrial sites, none towards the residential areas, including the backside. And why is that?
We're required to meet the town code for landscaping, which is reviewed by Carroll County. There's already street trees along Park Ridge Drive to provide that landscaping necessary. It's one of the reasons that we agreed to do the stone siding on the back of I to provide that more attractive feature there. There was talk of, well, why don't you add some bushes along the backside of Park Ridge? But then everybody talked about security and worried about people hiding in the bushes. So we've left it a clean vista from a nice architectural feature of the building to the street line. In terms of Rising Ridge Road, we're still facing industrial property there on it. And we went with larger, more dense bushes along there. Also, there are a number of utilities in there that would prohibit a lot of street trees.
Bushes on the front where people could hide, but not bushes on the back.
Bushes are not on the back because the community specifically worried about security and people hiding next to the residential areas. We listened to the public, the neighborhoods back there.
And I think part of, I know a lot of people spoke up about was really the main proximity to Park Ridge, and a lot of the thing, and the exit, and, you know, a lot of those things haven't been addressed that were brought up about improving that backside on Park Ridge. And I think the other concern, or things that have been brought up, is the signage. I think, especially with that second floor, and then I think that tall, that John was talking about, that big sign there.
Well, I disagree. I thought we addressed and met the community needs on the back. In terms of the conditions, we have no objection to any of them at this point in time. We'll pull the freestanding sign and reapply with a monument sign. There is a standard that CubeSmart has for a monument sign with a brick bottom, which would be along Rising Ridge Road there. The last one, the shared access easement, like we said, we just need to check to make sure that that's either in place or needs to be completed. In terms of stormwater management pond number 4, we're ready to submit that plat. We've successfully completed all our work around the pond per the agreement with the town. So we're moving right along. LDG has invested significant funds to clean that up.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
I had a question about the number of buildings. I think when we first talked about this, you were going to sort of build one, see how it goes, build another based on demand. And you've got all of the buildings listed here. So do you expect to just go ahead and build everything now?
No, I expect that, although I haven't had detailed discussions with the developer or contractor, that the entire site would be prepped for it. There are certain issues with storm drainage and drainage lines that need to be complete. They'll start with Building A and potentially Building B, because they're two different type of products that people rent. From one is the climate-controlled internal, and what they will do is, as they probably get to, I don't know what the number is, 80% capacity or rentals within the buildings, they'll be applying a building permit for the next one because they need to have space available. Another facility in town has bemoaned that they haven't been able to rent because they don't have spaces available until they get their new units built. So it's basically somewhat marching down the hill. There may be a skip if building A, it gets almost rented, then they're gonna wanna build like building F back there, which is another climate control building. There are 3 climate controlled buildings. So the cost of construction will dictate, it's extremely expensive right now for building construction. So they're not gonna build it all out at one time. So grade it all out. We may try to pave to stabilize everything in there so that it's basically building pads left to be done as business increases for the site.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
What did you, and sorry, real quick, you just said you were going to pull the sign.
We have no objection to the staff
Okay,
report saying it should not be allowed.
okay.
We'll come back with, in accordance with that, a monument-style sign will have to be submitted
Okay.
for approval as a sign.
And that'll be approved at the staff level. If it comes in and meets the sign requirements, then I'll approve it at my
Right.
level.
Okay. Thanks, John.
So my only question, Ron, is, so you're not going to encompass the whole site with some type of fencing, including building I as it is, enclosing the whole lot?
The site, the entire site, once they add more than building A, well, actually, building A, they have to encompass the entire site with fencing, because that's a security issue.
Right, so building I is going to be one of the first buildings built as well, I would think.
There may be a temporary fence there until building I is built. We have not worked that out. I mean, they've been at it for, they'd say too long, 3 years or so, so the market has changed somewhat, and the costs have changed significantly.
So then you'd be coming back with an addendum with the fencing?
They could apply for a fencing permit, or I guess,
Okay.
if the site plan shows the fencing, they can install it, but it doesn't show fencing where building I is. That's why I was trying to figure out, would they construct building I with the fencing, or like Ron's saying that they're gonna install fencing along there? Well, that's not this approved site plan, doesn't show fencing there. It shows a building I.
Building I is a fairly small building.
Right.
They may just build it out and not rent it because of the proximity of entry to built buildings in order to provide that connection there. I mean, if you look, that's a rather narrow building compared to the other buildings.
Didn't we ask you before whether they'd be willing to build fewer buildings, even just one fewer building? And the answer was no, and now you're saying they might not even use?
No, I'm not saying they won't. They need to build all of the buildings in order for this project to be a economically viable, financially viable project. However, ultimately, their cost of construction will be based upon use of buildings. They're not going to build all the buildings out and then leave them empty, heat buildings F and G, climate control it, and worry about that.
No, I know, but I thought you just said something about building out I, but maybe not using it. I thought that you.
Well, they may build it out, but I'm not sure whether or not they'll rent it out initially because it's distance from
Oh, I see what you're saying.
the rental activity there. It becomes a little bit, I think, awkward for users to drive by empty pad sites all the way to the back and then drive all the way back out again. There's essentially a flow to all of it. If their financing works out, they may build 3 buildings up front. Or 4, it all depends.
Okay, does any, yes?
Good evening. Stephen Demoter, I'm a resident of Mount Airy. So a question of clarification, and then a question to the commission members, and then some comments. So my first question is, so the town's code, are there any buffering requirements between an industrial zone and a residential zone? Yes or no? Are there buffering requirements?
There are, but this isn't against a residential zone.
It's not?
This is all industrial.
I know, it's an industrial plot,
Industrial. It's all
but
industrial.
it abuts to Park Ridge Avenue, which is a residential
Park Ridge
community.
Road. Park Ridge Road is industrial. This is all industrial. Everything's industrial that surrounds this property.
What about the other side of Park Ridge?
Industrial,
Okay.
Rising Ridge. Park Ridge,
Where is the Twin Ridge development on this plot, or is it not on here?
up here. It's there.
Right where the corner is.
It's on the other side
on
of
the
Lot
boundary
6,
lines.
I
Right where
believe.
the corners are on the boundary line.
Okay, how many feet between this complex and the residential area?
I'll give you a quick measurement real quick. It's not true.
It's right here.
And while we're waiting for that answer, I want to ask the commission members, have any of you,
250 feet.
250 feet,
Yep.
have any of you, and just give me a show of hands if you're willing to, have any of you visited this tract of land before you've made any decisions? Have you actually gone out and done a site visit? Anyone here on the planning commission?
You mean like walked it, or I've driven by?
Went out and looked at the whole area and said, this is coming up for my approval as a planning commission member. I'm visually having eyes on this. I'm looking at it, and maybe even talk to some of the other businesses in the business park or the adjoining residents. Has anybody done that?
We have looked at it. We're not allowed because of ex parte communication to talk to the residents
Okay.
unless they come here
Okay. How many people have gone out?
or
and
to
looked?
the developer,
Okay,
okay?
that's fine. How many people, can you show of hands, how many have gone out and looked at it yourselves?
We just, yeah.
Okay.
driven all around, yeah.
Just told you.
Well, I guess my comment is, if you've got a development that's 250 feet away, it seems like you may want to give a little stronger consideration to how this is going to impact the look and feel of that development and the neighbors. And I know there's been opportunities for public comment, but even, for example, the fencing, you're going to put chain link fencing up, okay? You could put a more attractive or higher quality type of fencing around that because it is going to be visible and it's in the immediate vicinity of a residential development.
30 seconds.
The other thing is, I find it interesting, there are no real buffering requirements per se between industrial and residential, yet I sat through the pre-concept plan approval for Green Tree, and under MXD, there are no buffering requirements, but we went to great efforts to add some buffering and trees and landscaping to accommodate a business section along with the residential section. So it just seems like our code system, it's my opinion, is a bit nonsensical in certain places. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to address,
Should he wait till everybody?
Can you wait until there's other comments? Yes, sir, could you come forward?
Good evening. My name is Brian Koblenz, and I'm a resident of 1105 Park Ridge Drive, which is about 4 houses up from this. Appreciate your time this evening. Ron, I'd just like to explain to you, I work as a regulator, as Carl knows, for the state. Been doing this for 25 years. I deal with permits and regulations. I understand about money. We all know about business. And we do understand, as residents of Park Ridge Drive, that Rising Road is a commercial area. We understand there's lots of businesses there. We don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with, and I think many of my citizens the same way, is that I&J, you're basically maximizing that property to the fullest extent. And do we have to do that? What I'm saying is you can still make money as a developer, as a commercial industry, and still have enough buildings there to not always go up to Park Ridge Drive and use that full space and have some green space. We know with rainfall, I understand you have stormwater permits, but you need to have some green space too to absorb some of that rainwater we're getting, because it's no longer a 100-year flood, it's 1,000-year floods now. We have to be prepared. I understand you cleaned the pond out, but again, that could be concerned with all that black space and asphalt space. So I'd like to be considered. The fencing thing, I understand what you said about the chain link, but I'm asking you to be a good neighbor. I understand that's what's required, but again, if you're going to move into our property, our area, we would ask that you be a good neighbor and good steward to our development that has lots of little kids. You know, this does change everything for us. And the one thing that's never been answered is, how is this going to affect our property values? You know, we're all talking about as neighbors, like, once it's built, we're maybe moving out. And we love Mount Airy, but what's this going to do to us? I don't think anyone's taken this consideration, what's going to do to our neighbors. And again, we're not against development of Rising Ridge Road. We understand that. But as far as how large this is going to be, the 91,000 acres, does it have to go all the way to Park Ridge Drive?
30 seconds.
And the last thing I do want to point out, Mr. O'Malley talked about, Twin Ridge Road or Twin Ridge Elementary School does not have an emergency exit. And this shared little easement right here, it's not large enough, in my opinion, from what I've seen in my 25 years of regulator, to navigate emergency equipment in and out of that little driveway. And you are going to take down some trees. There are 3 trees there right now. So just consider that. I ask to be a good neighbor and think about how much land you're actually using. What's going to do to our property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, citizen comments?
Hi there, Sean Kelly, 306 Springgate Court in Mount Airy. 2 things. First, so once ground is broken, when does all of the fencing go up? Does the fencing also go up in sections as the buildings are built?
No, I think we talked that the fencing needed to be complete when they first began operation for the entire site.
Okay, so there will be a fence enclosing the entire plot, okay. And then I just wanted to point out, there was a question about, you know, will the lights be on all night, or are they motion sensor? And respectfully, I think we got a non-answer. We don't know, we still don't know. So
Mr. Thompson, you did mention it being on a motion sensor.
He said in any storage space he's been in, that's the way it's been.
Their operation, people have up till 10 p.m. to access the site with cards or code that they're given. After 10 p.m., the facility is locked. If there's a hardship and somebody needed to get in, then the company, you'd have to arrange ahead of time with the company, like on a Sunday, who knows what, because of.
Speak to him. He's the one answering the question.
I'm just not hearing, do we know are the lights going to be on all night or not?
I've said no, that it's motion detected up until 10 p.m., then the lights aren't on.
Okay.
For the Keep Smart sign on the front, the big red sign.
Correct.
I just want to clarify, the lights I was talking about were the lights interior of Building A, not
Right.
the security lighting and stuff outside, so.
Well, I think the residents are, especially on Park Ridge, are concerned with floodlights in the back. So I just wanted, so we're hearing that after 10 p.m., they're not on unless somebody's on the property.
No, interior lights. Exterior lights are considered security lights, and those are mounted on the building. They're fully shielded with cutoff so that they cannot be floodlights. That would be against the town code.
Okay. So there are exterior lights
There are
all night.
Shielded so that they don't splay off of the property. Matter of fact, we are down to 0 in terms of photo light intrusion off of the property. Again, that is one of the requirements of the town code.
Okay. Okay, thank you for clarification. I took Councilman Munder's question as being those back exterior lights, so,
Okay.
thank you.
The location of those lights will be shown here on this plan here. You can see the arc of the lights around the building.
Correct, and we did not, because of the concern of lighting, put lighting on the backside of the last building.
Am I up?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question about the construction.
Name and.
Oh, forgive me. Suzanne Koblenz, 1105 Park Ridge Drive, 250 feet from the proposed build. I have questions about the construction. We're talking about the fencing being temporary or in parts or in pieces. As Mr. Koblenz earlier indicated, we have a lot of little kids, particularly down within that 250 feet range. I'd like to understand what the plan is in terms of protection, safety for the construction zone. Also, as indicated, using that same general tiny driveway that you're proposing, how is the construction vehicle going to be used? Are you going to be entering off of our road, or are you only entering construction vehicles off of Rising Ridge Road?
Construction access will be off of Rising Ridge Road. We have no intention of using the shared driveway for construction vehicles. In fact, once the vehicles, in terms of construction, you'll see bulldozers, excavators to move the dirt around on site. There'll be excavators to do this. They'll deliver pipe and other types of material for it. After the site has been graded, stabilized, you would begin to see the start of Building A being constructed. And again, that would be from Rising Ridge Road. Just like in any industrial park, the pad is formed with steel, and then a truck comes in order to, with a high boom, and then they just have concrete truck after concrete truck emptying to fill the pad.
I didn't use my full 2 minutes because he was responding. Can I ask one more question, please? Thank you. In respect to the noise that'll be associated with that concrete truck after concrete truck after concrete truck, in a normal industrial zone, I would 100% agree with you. However, I think we've successfully argued that we're really closely residential on our side, and because you already spoke to developing the entire property from the beginning, at minimum paving it, how are we accounting for the noise?
Generally, construction starts, workers arrive around 7:30 in the morning. Most construction sites that I've been associated with in industrial zones, and there've been quite a few of them, particularly in the town of Mount Airy, workers are off the site by 3:30 in the afternoon. They like to come early and leave early in the afternoon. There may be a few cleanup workers, but the bulk of the work is done. All contractors that I'm aware of don't like to pay overtime.
Still have a minute.
I don't have any familiarity with the noise violation codes, but I would argue that our area, specifically on the back end where our street is, Park Ridge Drive, would be considered mixed use, not industrial. So I wonder what the noise violations or codes would be. It'd be great if we could look into that. That's it.
Well,
Thank you.
okay.
It's not mixed use. This is industrial. Across the street's industrial. It's adjoining industrial to your residential. It's been that way for decades.
As far as are you going to put up temporary fencing, like that rubber fence? Are you going to put up some kind of temporary fencing?
There'll have to be safety fence put
Yeah,
up
that's okay.
along the edge of the property.
And if I'm not mistaken, our noise ordinances, help me here, start at 10:30 at night?
7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, thank you. You do because you've done construction around here, so I'm, okay.
Yeah, I think
So it
it's,
starts at 7.
yeah,
11,
I think,
but
are you looking it up, Tom? Okay, yeah, I think there's, starts 6:37, goes to, normally 10, I think, but I'm not sure if construction would continue on that long.
Our issues any pending first thing in the morning.
I'm not saying, I'm just going by memory, so I can't say.
hold on, man.
It's 7, Barney?
Can you slide your desk over?
County engineer just said it's 7 o'clock is when when construction is allowed to start. For a weekday.
Great, hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm Ashley Malott, 1108 Parkridge Drive. I guess my question was, what about weekends, Saturdays, and when's your cutoff time? I know you said 7:30, 6:37 was when we could start. But again, I'm reiterating, we have so many young kids in that neighborhood.
I think he said no weekends,
No weekends at all, no
only
Saturdays?
construction.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I'm not, I'm.
I heard that nobody likes to pay overtime.
Hold on.
That's kind of a roundabout way to ask, though, yeah.
I can't predict the contractor's activities, but generally, when it comes to earthwork and grading, that's a Monday to Friday operation. There may be some minor work done on a Saturday. If there were work being done on Saturday, it would be because of the availability of concrete. They're pouring concrete on a Saturday or finishing it up. Building erection, sometimes people, the bulk of it's up, but then they come in and do different trade will come in and do something else in a fit out.
I guess my other question is, how long is this build going to be taking? Again, if we're kind of saying to our children, oh, bedtime may not happen because it's loud, or can't really sleep in because it's loud, how long are we going to have to wait until this is completed?
I don't have a time link for construction. I think that because of the topography, we actually sit lower than the adjoining lots to the north there, which help buffer the noise. Considerably, noise has a cone that does go upwards, because I've had to account for it in a number of projects there. So it's not a level, you're buffered by buildings there. And we're not at the edge, as John has pointed out, we're not at the edge of an industrial park. We're a building, we're one pad site in from the edge of the industrial park.
Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Commissioners?
My question about the fence, is that a construction fence that would be around the entire property? Or
There's a,
the permanent fence that would be around the entire
no,
property?
he's talking about a safety construction fence during construction, and then another fence will come up. It won't be a permanent fence during construction.
I understand that.
Okay,
But after the first two buildings are built, there will be a fence around the entire, the permanent fence around.
We
the
need to
entire
enclose the entire site
Yes,
for security purposes.
okay. All right, thank you.
Leslie?
I was just going to give the site for the noise ordinance.
Okay.
In the Mount Airy Town Code. Article 2, Section 82-4. It starts there, and it gives you daytime stuff, nighttime stuff, the hours, the,
Prohibited activity.
what's always prohibited. So it's on the town website. You go to the town website, you go to the bottom, it's the E-code, and you get the whole town code.
Any other questions? Yes.
So again, Steve Demoter, and I'm I'm still learning the process of zoning in Mount Airy, and it's a continual learning process, I think, for everybody. I guess picking up on what I was trying to get across earlier, I find it ironic in many ways. You know, we have this granularity of residential to neighborhood professional to, you know, limited commercial to community commercial. You have all these gradations, and you have all these buffering requirements built in. You can't jump to something more intensive unless you have a buffer in between the two. And here you have a case, I understand it's been zoned this way, but I find it ironic that you can have a residential area 200 feet away from an industrial zone, and I don't hear you as a planning commission taking into account the smart approach that would be to add some buffering considerations in between these two. So just as you've heard, you know, maybe some more attractive fencing, what type of landscaping you're going to use, those types of things. I would just implore you to really think about the seam between the industrial zone and the residential zone, and how you can make that as appealing and attractive and acceptable to the residents of that development. Just pretend you are living there. Again, I find it ironic, you know, all these, and you know, all these little buffering requirements.
But your statement is incorrect, and I do have to call it as being incorrect. We are not adjacent to a residential zone. The next lot that comes up, 18A, is, and you will see an increased buffering, landscape buffering between that industrial development and that residential. We are in between all industrial property, and there is a specific landscaping code required for between industrial properties. There's increased landscape requirements in the code when you buffer between industrial and residential. In our case, we are surrounded entirely by industrial property.
My comments to the commission stand. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Just ask what you would consider buffering for this particular.
Well, again, I've heard you. I'm running over my time. Is this acceptable?
Yes, the chair.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at this. Now, you say you've heard comments from citizens, and they said, well, we don't want shrubs because people could hide behind the shrubs. Well, I haven't heard that. I don't know if that's a real concern. It seems to me that the more appealing and attractive you can make the landscaping, the fencing, all of those types of things, where it's visible to the residential area, and, you know, same with the lighting concerns, all of those quality of life kinds of things, property value kinds of concerns that perhaps you've heard, I've heard some tonight, I would just appeal to you as the commission to not approve this until there is more, I'll put them all in the buffering category as a header, but yes, some nicer landscaping, nicer fencing, everything you can do to make that as appealing as possible. Pretend that you're living there 200 feet away with your family. It's your property. You want to retain your property values, that type of thing.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because my question was then to you, would you consider putting in along that whole corner, I mean, going from my memory of my drive-by, but can we add more and more to make it more trees and something that would make it so that if people up there, they wouldn't be able to see it at all in a way?
Like trees.
Yeah, like a lot, I mean, not a forest, I mean, whatever you can do.
Again, people living above are not going to be looking directly into the facility. People in the subdivision above are somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 feet. They're going to be looking well over that development there. I mean, we put landscaping in as required, as I feel needed. What I don't do is put landscaping in just to throw it in where it becomes a hindrance or not well-designed. To add additional landscaping would be considered a not well-designed landscape there.
Well, what kind of a bush would you put in front of the fence that somebody could hide behind?
Well, we have bushes in there now.
Like a ship laurel or something like that?
Are you talking at the front of the property along Rising Ridge?
I'm talking over
or
here by Park Ridge. That
Park
seems to be
Ridge?
why everyone's here tonight.
Well, except though, the last meeting, I got beat up about not putting bushes in because they didn't want people to hide between the building and the bushes.
Who's they?
That was
The residents.
That was the citizens.
It was the citizens.
No one said that.
No, they also came up with the comment that they wanted a brick-type siding there, not just the metal siding like what are in the interior of the building. And that's what we
Brick, I
provided.
remember the brick conversation being a light brown shade thing with what Councilman Munder said. I do recall that conversation. I don't recall the one about the bushes, though.
I think
Well, I do.
this,
I mean,
this
otherwise
is,
I'd put them in.
this is a special, because it is industrial, but it's kind of special in the town that it's so close to an established neighborhood. And I think what a lot of the citizens are asking is that you extend a little bit more neighborly courtesy, I guess. Yes, you're saying you're meeting the minimum. However, pushing that back, the brick wall, the coloring, the landscaping, that access, anything that can be improved on that side, I think would go a long way in appeasing and being neighborly with the rest of the town.
In all honesty, I think the building I is just in place to be a wall between the street. I mean,
Yeah, is I
it's
negotiable?
very narrow, it's, just a long, narrow building.
Well, are you asking for more trees
Well, we're certainly.
along there?
I mean, is I really, really, really necessary to build?
Yes.
Okay.
All the buildings are necessary. That I established at the concept plan stage. Financially, all the buildings have to be built. And we're 45 feet away from the right-of-way line. We're probably
Pull up a Google Earth photo of
50
that
feet from
road
the street
on that
over
terminal
that.
that you have over there?
So, can you confirm you're 50 feet from the property line and 100 feet from the street line?
No, you'll see on the backside of Building I, 40-foot BRL, and we're not at that. It looks like we're about 5 feet away to the right-of-way line. Then you've got sidewalk, and
I'm just asking if you meet the code.
yes, we do.
Okay,
We're
which
40-foot BRL.
All buildings set back at least 50 feet from any property line and 100 feet from any street line. That's what I'm asking.
The industrial code, it's 40-foot.
This is the industrial. You didn't do me wrong here, did you? Industrial center in an I district and subject to the requirements. Oh, wait, this is special exception. Wait, this is special exception? But this isn't a special exception.
So we need 10 feet.
No, the building code, the building restriction line in industrial zone is 40 feet.
This is special exception. Yeah, never mind.
Okay.
He was pointing me to the wrong section.
All right.
You're starting trouble here.
Thank you. We're willing to work with staff and add some more street trees along Park Ridge Drive if that's something.
All right.
Add that as a condition.
I think you should also consider the exit that is not required by emergency services, and that's going to take out trees. And I think there's some serious issues that we may have in the future with that signage up front, the bright.
Launch it in the corner there, the right corner. I just want a street view of this. Or how about just go to Google
Maps.
Maps? Yeah, just do that. I want to see it from.
Are you finished?
I am. I just want to thank you. I think Commission Member O'Malley, in particular, said what I was trying to say, which is this is kind of a special case. You've got a residential zone, my word, abutting an industrial zone. And again, with all of your other zoning requirements and buffering between, you get it? You as a commission have the power to make this be what I think you all know it should be, and I ask you to do that. Thank you.
Yes, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
So again, this is Brian Koblenz. I just want to address what Councilman John said. We do understand that this was zoned industrial/commercial many years ago. However, we moved here 12 years ago, and I know Mr. O'Malley's been here for, 5 or 6, and my other neighbor's been here for 10 plus. And those fields have always been dormant. And we did understand that maybe someday there might be some development, but not to this level. And I think if we could somehow, have a clock to go backwards, we would never buy here in Mount Airy because of this. And like I said, we are considering selling our house now because we are seriously worried about what's going to do to our development. So just keep that in mind. We do understand it was industrial, but again, it's been dormant for 12 years we've been here, and no mention of anything being developed. And now to throw this huge thing there does change everything. So thank you.
It's tough to see up
Thank you,
here,
Mr.
but here's the corner of the property here, and then this is the residential property here. This is a 3-acre parcel that separates this parcel from any residential.
What's the 3-acre parcel? What's
That's
that?
this industrial
That's
property here
industrial.
that's currently being operated.
It's set back much further.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pipe plant or something.
Yeah, Bay Saver. I think it's called Bay Saver or something.
I think so too.
But it's also set back a lot further from the street.
Setback, it's not on the street.
So,
Yeah, Steve, can you go for a little bit, show me the other side to Nick's house, where Nick's got parts behind his land to be developed as well.
Yeah, let's see the other side of Park Ridge.
Because that's a concern too. There's a house that's right
Right
there.
there.
Okay.
And that backs up to this property as well. It's commercial. And
No,
so that property behind these houses is also zoned commercial. And that's
That's-
also developed.
that's industrial, it's not commercial.
And those houses are right in front of that property.
That, we're not talking about that property.
All right, so we
Dave, go ahead.
Dave Pyatt, 705 Park. I wasn't planning to say anything, but I felt compelled I had to add the perspective that I was on the council when this property was zoned and brought into the town. We weren't very happy, when I say we, the council was not very happy at the time because we had residential, commercial, and industrial. And we realized that this problem was going to come about what we're seeing today. We knew then that we approved the industrial as industrial, but we all had second thoughts about it and reservations, but we didn't have any choice because at that time, we wanted to bring in industrial, bringing in businesses was the financial engine of the town, and it's a little bit different now. But I think, like Mr. Thompson has been around for 20 years, and he should recognize that the town did provide a gift to develop industrial, but it had this caveat that it would infringe on residential zone. And I'm a little put back that it's like, well, the zone says this, and these are the specifications. It's not that simple. The town made an investment in the 90s, as I recall, to do development, and I'm for development myself. I'm not anti. But at the same time, people have moved here and they've paid a lot of money for their houses. They're part of the community, and we have to recognize that you just can't follow these rigid codes. You have to give these people some consideration.
Well, thank you. I understand it's frustrating when you move 12 years and it's been a field and nothing. I understand that. I also hope that you understand that we're trying to work this out. We have to follow the code that we have. We only work We can only work with what we have, and this is the code that we have. Short of that, we have to work within the confines of the code, because someone can come and say, and I'm not saying that they will, but we're the black and white. Yes, we do see the gray, and yes, we do understand. So we're trying to work with this. I'd like to hear from the developer a little bit about, I mean, are you willing to do, are you flexible? Are we willing to work here?
I think I indicated that we'd be willing to add a condition to work with staff to add additional landscaping along Park Ridge Drive.
Madam Chair, once you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad kind of you're willing to give a little bit on the extra trees or landscaping along Park Ridge, but I've also been hearing, I think I did bring it up at the pre-concept about the fencing. And I've noticed that at least at the other self-storage in town over Twin Arch, does have a combination of the fancier looking aluminum fencing, the white fencing, and chain link, where it's not as prevalently shown along like the side of the property as a chain link. Would you be willing to do something like that along Park Ridge Drive, like where abutting, like say Lot 6, people driving up Park Ridge would be able to, would you be happy or willing to consider putting in the fancier, the nicer looking aluminum fencing similar to the type over at Twin Arch self-storage, like kind of mimic the type of fencing layout that they have there to alleviate some of the neighbors' concerns over the way the fencing would look over time?
I don't think that we would object to changing the fencing to I don't want to call it a wrought iron type, but similar to that, along Rising Ridge Road and along Park Ridge Drive.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to run it the rest of the way adjacent to a wooded area that drops to a railroad track that nobody will ever see.
How about we extend it past the exit or the utility unit, maybe 150 feet back from the edge, and then that would be, then it could go chain link up to 150 feet off of Rising Ridge along the front of the property. You know, so visibly, you'll see the aluminum fencing 150 feet back from the corner or something like that.
That's probably workable.
And it is 300 feet from this corner of the property to this corner of that property up here. So we have 250 feet from this corner to that corner, 300 feet from this corner to that corner.
Does the industrial code have the setback? I know Mr. Thompson said 40 feet from the road. Is that correct? Is he correct in that as far as the? Okay, well, then it needs to, is it 50 feet or 100 feet?
There's a 50 feet requirement for a buffer for residential to industrial.
Okay.
Industrial, I mean, I can look to see if I can figure out where it is.
He was looking up special exception. It wasn't 40 feet, so 50 feet's okay. So we're looking at all a conditional approval with all of the conditions that we have here, plus fencing, landscaping, and
the monument style sign.
the monument sign.
That's already a condition.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's already in there. He's asking him to submit a revised. I don't know how to say the fencing.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, sir.
I think I wrote down, add additional landscaping along Park Ridge Drive. You can put working with town staff.
Well, I wanted to come back here. I just don't want you to work with staff. I mean, we're not going to totally sign off on that until you
Are you
come back
doing
here.
December meeting then to make them wait?
No, we're not,
But I
Ron.
don't think that's fair. Quite frankly, I'm trying to work with the town and give you additional proffers, and we should be able to work with the staff. You hire professional planners and engineers, we should be able to work with them as part of the conditions to meet that. If John says add more landscaping because he's not satisfied, then I'm going to have to come back and add more landscaping on it. To make us wait an additional 2 months is not fair. We've proffered that, hey, we'll agree to add those two, working with your
Okay,
professional
okay.
staff.
And if he feels that he needs to come back, he will let us know.
If I could just say,
Yeah.
all those recommendations and things that we were just talking about were brought up a year ago by all the citizens that came here. When this first came up, those were all recommendations that they gave you a year ago. And now you're telling us that it's not fair that we're not giving you another month or 2 months.
Well, but we
Here
do.
to do it, and you
I
didn't.
mean, I want some give and take here, and we have to trust our staff, and if he doesn't feel that it's appropriate and enough has been done, he will tell Ron, and it will come back here.
That's fair.
I think that's fair. So we're going to add additional fencing
The other
or
bullet.
additional landscape?
Yeah, the one was add additional landscaping along Parkside Drive. Park Ridge, sorry, I wrote Park Ridge Drive, per town staff approval.
And Rising Ridge, I said on both ends, 150 feet on both.
I haven't got to the fence bullet yet. That was landscaping.
Oh, that was landscaping, okay.
And the fencing, we're going to add,
I had revised fencing, white aluminum fencing
okay,
along
white aluminum.
streets,
I couldn't think of what I wanted.
150 feet back. Which would then cover what was asked for.
No, this is for the fencing.
Okay. So do we have a motion? Steve, why don't you make the motion?
Madam Chair, I'm just going to say one thing to Mr. Breeding while Steve's thinking, or whoever's thinking the motion. The Google Earth here shows that there are trees at the corner of the shared drive. So I would just say, take into consideration when you're looking at the trees, if any of those are removed, and if feasible, try and replace them to cover the corner again, like put the site back as best you can with the trees to block that corner. So I've heard that too, that there are trees being taken out along the shared access point. So if they can be placed back in some form or another, I think we should look at that too, or consider that.
Well, they're located in the stormwater management facility, if you look at the picture. So, I mean,
Okay, I'm just showing the photo. Yeah, I'm just looking at the photo, so.
I'm looking at the site plan. So, I mean, you can see the edge of the driveway right here.
Gotcha.
Right, there's the driveway. There's the driveway. Yes, there are some trees here.
Okay.
They don't look to be that large of a caliber. But again, there'll be some additional landscaping that'll be
That's fine.
here, sort of creating that blocking, and that'll be part of what he's presenting.
Okay.
Those are a type of evergreen, too.
Right,
Yeah.
The trees that are along the street are not.
right. I would be requiring some type of evergreen along here.
Okay.
I'm going to check it when I'm not here. No.
So the motion, Steve, you want me to make it? Just make sure I'm getting everything right. So I'm going to move that we follow the staff recommendation with the conditional with the conditions that are the following. All town and county reviewing agencies have been granted final approval of the proposed site development plan, that the signed PWA agreement be approved and signed by all parties, and bonding for the project needs to be in place. The deed of access easement for stormwater management needs to be recorded simultaneously with AP 20-20-0079. Final transfer of ownership of the Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, Stormwater Management Pond Number 4, including the recordation of the amended plat, removing Pond Number 4 from Lot Number 3, Plat 3, and Lot Number 4, Plat 4 of the Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2. The standing sign on this sheet 14 of 14 will not be allowed as part of this conditional approval. Resubmit a revised signage package that shows a monument-style sign. The height of this sign should be approved by the Town Planning Commission. Provide a shared access easement maintenance agreement with Lot 6 Twin Ridge Professional Park and the new Lot 7A Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2. Add additional white aluminum fencing 150 feet back. And add additional landscaping on Park Ridge Drive.
And Rising Ridge.
And Rising Ridge, okay.
And the one with the monument-style sign, I'm not sure if we should say that to be town staff or approved by the zoning administrator.
It should be approved by the zoning administrator.
You need to make sure the white fencing is on both streets. Rising Ridge and.
Add additional white aluminum fencing on Rising Ridge and Park Ridge.
There's consistency.
I'm voting no anyway, but I want to make sure it's right.
Is there a second to this? Okay, seeing none, this recommendation is not approved. It does not mean that it's dead.
I'd like a poll of the people who didn't vote to ask why they did not, since we've met all the conditions of a site plan approval, why they did not
You have the right,
violate
yes.
that.
You
I
have
think I'm
the
entitled to
right to
that.
do that. You have the right to do that.
Like each individual one to respond and it be in the record, in the Planning Commission record presented at the January Planning Commission.
Okay, I'll start here. Leslie?
I'll start. I voted against the merging of these two parcels way back whenever that was, because I just didn't think that that was appropriate how that came up. And if you recall, and I'm sure it's in the record, I asked a lot of questions about it. But it was done. And so right now it has to do with, as we've asked before, that it seems excessive that you need the INJ building. And as we also discussed, can't tell you which meeting, it was probably not the first meeting, it was probably pre-concept or something, where, you acknowledged that you would only build in a progression, once they're 80% or whatever, which is fine, except that if you ended up not getting enough sufficient business, then it wouldn't be completed. So we had a discussion about that, and I'm sure it's hopefully in some minutes or on a tape somewhere. So, that's just an ongoing puzzle. But to me, it's really, it's also that Park Ridge entry and exit that also people have expressed extensive concern about with all the children in the area, and that, no one asked you to do it. You said this evening, the fire company didn't ask you to do it. No one's actually said that that's a mandatory safety, ingress and egress. So, those are my, but in terms, just for the record, I've consistently been kind of skeptical from the beginning, so.
So I'll take that we didn't violate any of the conditions of a site plan
Okay,
design.
you need to hear everybody out.
I will.
Okay. Bill?
I'm just having trouble visualizing it.
Bill, can you pull your mic closer to you?
Can't hear.
We can't hear you.
I'm primarily a visual person, and I'm not able, for whatever reason, to see all of this in my mind or to imagine it as something different than what exists now. I need time to do that. I need a better way to see the functionality as well as the appearance of it, as well as the practicality of it, and in the responsiveness to concerns that our population has. I'm not saying no to it. I just need to see it. I need to understand it. I need to feel like it delivers.
I can't second my own motion.
You want me to go? Oh, I thought.
You go ahead.
You going in order? or-
Yes, we're
Ralph
good.
hasn't had a chance to go.
No, he's an alternate. He doesn't vote.
For the public, I'm an,
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
explain, I'm the alternate, and I'm not voting tonight because the
Everybody's-
board is full and present.
But he is allowed to make comments and, okay,
So my concern again is
speak into the mic.
the back gate, and I'm having problems visualizing as well. And then this whole section over here, we were talking about more trees, and then it was, design for design's sake. But if the residents are saying we need something there, I'm not entirely sure that those concerns have been completely addressed. And then we did talk about initially, I'm not anti-business or anything, but it was, we're going to build out bit by bit, and now it's everything must be built and everything will be built, when there was some question as to how and when from the beginning, how many buildings would actually need to be built. And again, I'll just stop there.
Brian?
My issue is with buildings H and I, and their proximity to the road itself. My other issue is this little access area that's for maintenance vehicles. I foresee that being something else in the future. Can you go back to the Google picture that I had up there that I asked you to do? So as Commissioner Butts had stated, he needs to see it more. I'd like to see it where this other industrial place is off the road in the back. If you didn't have to maximize the property and have H and I present, that would set back the property with some nice landscaping and the white fence around it off of the road a little more. I think there's not enough buffer there between the road, these buildings, but I also understand the use of maximizing the property for economic viability. I'm just stuck with the buildings H and I think I is just an afterthought to block basically putting a building fence in there that you can use to store things. So in this design, I'd like to have it set back a little further. That's all.
We don't want to know what's there.
Yeah, and it's difficult, I understand, but I think that, I think that it should be off the road a little further.
Steve?
I think, as a lot of the residents have let you know previously when this has come up, that there are concerns, and a lot of these concerns were brought up a while ago. And when this was presented this time, it didn't seem like you genuinely addressed those concerns. I think we could be a little more creative on the backside. I feel like it wasn't really taken into account. I think a combination of maybe moving something, landscaping, that exit is still a concern with a lot of residents, berms, anything to clean that up, make it more tolerable or more inclusive in the neighborhood. And I'm still kind of concerned about that sign on the front of the building though off of Rising Ridge as well, since it's a second-story sign. And a lot of Cube Smarts around Maryland, they're like a giant Las Vegas neon sign coming off. So I think we need to learn a little bit more about that as well before it comes back.
I'm sorry. Mr. Breeding, I was asking you just to take that Google Earth photo and bring it forward so I can see the other street, Rising Ridge Road. And the Cube Smart sign facing the other side of the road, is that also, because I can't recall at the minute? Okay, so, okay, just industrial on that side, okay.
Yeah, if you go lower though.
Yeah.
All industrial.
I'm sorry, the other way, sorry.
Lower?
No, the other way.
No, that's fine.
But that's lower.
Yeah.
Upper?
Yeah, that's, okay.
Go
So
south.
Go
south.
The sign's gonna face, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Railroad track.
Yeah, the railroad tracks in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cube Smart sign is not an issue.
Yeah, so we get that it's like
Have to be able to see it.
industrial.
Industrial here, you have industrial here,
Yeah.
industrial
It's just that
here,
one
industrial here,
corner, You know?
all industrial.
On that side, it is fully industrial.
Yeah, for sure, that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm fine with the sign then.
Madam Chair, I'm just going to explain like Ralph. I'm council liaison, so I'm not allowed to vote unless there's a tie, but I am allowed to ask questions, so that's why I did not do anything
Okay,
on this. So thank you, Madam Chair.
yes. Okay, thank you. Well,
Would a 3D rendering of the property
Oh,
help
yeah. Yeah.
visualize for Bill
I think
and
so.
Martina? I don't know if that's an option possibly that might 3D, I don't know. Just trying to figure out what might help.
Madam Chair, if I could possibly add a closure statement here and a nod to comments made by others. In the industrial district zone, in our charter, it does state that this district and its use is intended so they are located in a manner that makes them the least offensive to one another and to adjacent land use districts. And so I think as a wrap-up and a summary said, there is some offense as to what people are seeing here. And adjacent, I understand, is not necessarily interpreted as adjoining. The residents are adjacent to this. And so I think there's a well-intended phrase in our district zoning here that I think captures some of this reticence.
What number is that, Ralph?
This is 112-45.
Thank you.
I think we're finished. We're going to move on.
Yeah, I'm up next.
Oh, okay. Our next is introducing of 20-0033 Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, Lot 18A, the final plan for the multiple flex space and industrial buildings.
Again, this is Lot 18A of the Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2. This is a combination of lots 18 and 19 of that previously recorded subdivision. Of 18A is 3.4179 acres of Section 2 of the Twin Ridge Professional Park subdivision in the industrial zone. We did see an amended plat AP 20-0080 that was approved by the town of Mount Airy Planning Commission and is due to be recorded with the current easement that we just received for the stormwater management, which is reviewed by our town attorney. Ken is asking for an approval of the final site development plan for this parcel. Again, this excuse me. The proposed site plan layout will contain a total of 3 buildings, the smallest being 4,800 square feet, the second being 10,400 square feet, and the last building being 13,600 square feet. being the largest. Again, there'll be two different full movement intersections onto Rising Ridge Road. There'll be a drivable loop around all three buildings connecting the parking areas and access to the rear of the proposed buildings. Again, this is an industrially zoned property. It does abut residential properties to the north. There is a 50-foot setback for these residential properties. In addition, there'll be a microbiome and Class A vegetation screening separating the use from the residential use. Again, the recommendation is a conditional approval of the final site plan for Lot 18A, Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, subject to the following action items. And again, as you can see on the map here, this is Rising Ridge Road, and the parcels are right in here.
Can you go up just a little bit?
And the residential property is right here. Two residential properties that abut the property. And this is our community garden up here,
Okay,
reference. Railroad tracks are right back here. Yep. The new rails to Trail West will end somewhere around here. Let me bring up the site plan.
That's primarily in the vegetation area then, correct?
Yep. That's not what I wanted. Work on-
Mayor, first question.
yes, sir.
I understand this professional park will have two entrances off of Rising Ridge Road. Looking through the plan directory, I don't see any access or entry signage, such as a monument sign, adjacent to that. It appears that all the signage will reside on the front elevation of each of the offices in that professional park.
Correct. There's no monument sign. It would be if they have a tenant requiring signage, then it would have to be submitted as part of a sign package to the zoning administrator.
That was my only question.
Is that your only question? Any other commissioners have questions?
I did. Maybe, John, you can help. What's the distance from the residential to the development over here on the north side, I guess?
To the edge of the building?
Yeah, or to the parking lot, I guess.
You can see the, right there, opposite the handicap space, the 50-foot building restriction line. That's about,
Is that it right there, Ron? You're saying right there?
where's that? Yeah, right there. And you can see the solid line is the parking line. So we're
It's 20 feet plus 24
24,
feet
yeah,
plus
50, so we're,
feet is from the edge of the property line to the nearest. I guess this is paving out here too, I think, right? Go to that corner.
And that's a planned bioretention area and
That's
trees?
that rectangle right there?
Yeah.
Yep.
that has grasses in it. If we went to the sheet 11, you would see a buffer that is double of what's required for Class A.
Yeah, I think the only other question I had is, when I was looking through it, again, I'm going to bring it up for landscaping. I kind of like the amount that you have on the front. But again, you only have 3 native trees that you're putting in the entire thing. If there's a way, I'm going to harp on it every time, we could try to include more native species in some of these projects. I think it'd be better for the town as a whole. That's something you would consider.
What native species would you be recommending?
Any native species recommended by the state of Maryland.
Okay,
There's a whole big list.
okay.
Yeah, natives are definitely preferred.
I think
go a
those are
little bit
pine
by
tooth
county, too.
oaks. Those three are native, but all those buffers all here, and everything up front is all
Evergreen.
not native.
Evergreen planting.
The evergreen's sort of what the town likes to see for survivability.
For buffer,
Native evergreens as well, too.
I'm sure if you go to the Beautification Commission, they'll have a whole list ready to go.
I'll consider that for future projects.
Any other questions?
Has anybody, have you spoken to the neighbors over here? And has anybody given any comments, or no one's here?
I haven't asked yet, so
Oh, sorry.
it's okay.
I'm
I've
getting
sent
ahead
out
of myself. I'm
notifications. I haven't
sorry.
received any.
Okay, so yeah, you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
What would be the, just in case someone, what would be the distance from, say, the back edge of the lot to the closest residential area over there? I mean, I think it's a good
Where are you talking
distance.
about, Carl?
Say back of the,
You're saying back here?
yeah, back here to the residential that way. It's a good distance, correct? I mean, because you got trees
The
back there.
CSX line is going to be at least probably 150
Yeah,
feet
yeah, the,
Says
right of way.
CFX first.
Yeah.
To the right.
yeah, it's more north of this than the south. All righty. Any other questions?
I'm trying to get that. I don't know it off the top of my head.
What's that?
The distance you
Oh,
just asked me.
oh, sorry, okay.
I'm working as fast as I can. 161 feet, and again, that's through the CSX right-of-way.
Okay. And the trees, okay, cool.
It's to the edge of their property line. That's actually more to an actual house property line. That's to the subdivision property line.
All right, cool. Thank you, John. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any comments from the citizens?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Mr. Thompson, there's a max 6 foot, is that 6 foot high wall on the back side of there? On sheet number 3 of 12?
Along the backside,
It says max 6 foot high wall, and it's on the back side of the,
There's a retaining wall at the rear of the property,
retaining wall.
right along here.
okay, is that to be installed, or is it already there?
It's a retaining wall they'll have to be installed.
Okay.
If it's exceeding 4 feet, they have to provide a railing.
Gotcha. So the land demographic goes this way? It goes down
Yes.
from the back
It
side?
goes down to the railroad track
Yes.
Okay,
rather steeply.
all right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, anyone else? Any citizen comments? Okay.
I can get you the larger scale plans if you want, so that you can see it better.
Seeing none, is there a motion? Does everyone not feel comfortable making a motion? Is that why we're not making the motion? Well, I'm going to move that the staff recommends conditional approval of the final site plan for Lot 18A of Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, subject to the following action items: that all town and county reviewing agencies have been addressed and have granted final approval of the proposed site development plan, that the signed public works agreement be approved and signed by all parties, and bonding for the project needs to be in place. The deed of the access easement for the stormwater management needs to be recorded simultaneously with AP-20-0080 for final recordation. Final transfer of ownership of the Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, Stormwater Management Pond 4, including the recommendation of the amended plat, removing Pond 4 from Lot 3, Plat 3, and Lot 4, Plat 4 of the Twin Ridge Park, Professional Park, Section 2, I'm going to add a condition that, if at all possible, that the trees, the evergreen trees, be native to the state of Maryland.
And to this Carroll County,
Or,
native to Carroll County. I believe that was Mr. O'Malley.
No, just native to Maryland.
To Maryland?
I think Maryland is,
A little too.
all right.
That is specific.
Is there a second to this? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is the introduction of recommendation to the Board of Appeals for a special exception request for above-ground fuel storage tanks located on Lot 15, Twin Arch Business Park.
We actually have one more agenda.
One more to go through, yeah. I was going to say, we have one more.
The
I'm
revised
sorry.
S21
sorry.
-0020.
I've got it right here in my hand. This one is S21-0022, Twin Arch Business Park, Section 2, Phase 2, Lot 20, the final plan for a flex industrial space building.
All right, this is one of the lots in Twin Arch Business Park, Lot 20, Section 2, Phase 2. Flex warehouse office space. The applicant is proposing to construct a 12,270 square foot flex warehouse with office space. It currently is served by public water and sewer in this location. Access to the site is along Back Acre Circle. There's currently a curb cut. Currently, there is, there are stones on the property currently. Let me get rid of this one here, sorry.
Go ahead, start again, John.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Wait 1 second. Maybe you could do this. Can you pull this up?
You can reset the clock on yourself, John. How's that?
Again, Twin Arch Business Park, Lot 20, is looking for a final approval. Can you hold it up to bring the plan kind of up a little bit? You can see more of the lot. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's start back over. Twin Arch Business Park, Section 2, Phase 2, Lot 20, S21-0022. Again, is a flex warehouse office space with 12,270 square feet total. The lot will provide 37 spaces, which are required. So again, the proposed site plan layout will contain one building with 10,470 square feet of warehouse space in an area of 8,670 square feet. Oops, wait a second. Okay, it's a total, so, okay. Total of 10,470 square feet. 8,670 square feet will be warehouse, and then there'll be 1,800 square feet of office space. I think it's on the first floor and the second floor. And again, the staff is recommending the final approval of the site development plan for Lot 20 of the Twin Arch Business Park, Section 2, Phase 2, with the subject of the following conditions. Again, the current lot has equipment stored on it. They do have gravel down. Initially, they had started putting the gravel down and utilizing the lot. The town, or I think the county actually came out and said, "What are you doing?" So then that's why the plan came in, because they sort of started put the cart before the horse. And so or the horse before the cart, I don't know, either way.
Horse before,
No.
cart before the horse.
Okay. So again, they're going through this approval process. They did receive concept plan approval, and they're requesting the final plan approval for this site development plan. Any other questions?
I don't at this time. Do you have anything to say there, Attorney?
No, I think this development kind of fits right in with the whole industrial subdivision back there. We've met the requirements for stormwater, actually exceeded them in a few different ways. I think we had some discussion about landscaping last time with the concept. We addressed everything there, so I think it's a. Native trees. So no, I think this is, aside from a few minor stormwater management items we're working out with Carroll County, I think this is, I think we've got a pretty good layout here.
All right, does any of the commissioners have any questions? Okay. Oh, okay, yes, sir.
Wayne Demetriff, 2410 Connor Circle. I can't really tell by this map of where exactly on Backacre Circle that this resides. Can you guys help me out with that?
Sure can.
You know where Skyview Gymnastics was? Directly across from where that was.
Oh, okay.
So it's on the back, it's not near the Goddard School?
No.
Directly across from where Skyview Gymnastics.
I say close to the, the kitchen counters and
Yes.
stuff, I think.
The Flips Mount Airy?
1 hour air conditioning.
I can show you here if you want to see.
It's right here. So this is that lot
there you
right
go.
here, lot 20.
We have it on the location map here.
Okay, no, I have no further questions. I live in that area, and I think that does fit in.
Any other citizen comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make
Go ahead,
a motion, so,
speak loud.
sorry. We'll just make a motion to approve this final site plan for Lot 20 of the Twin Arch Business Park, Section 2, Phase 2, subject to the following conditions: that all town and county reviewing agencies have been addressed and have granted final approval of the proposed site development plan. That signed PW Public Works Agreement be approved and signed by all parties, and bonding for the project needs to be in place.
Is there a second to this? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the conditional approval of the final site plan for Lot 20, Twin Arch Business Park, Section 2, Phase 2, and the following conditions: that all town and county reviewing agencies have been addressed and have been granted final approval of the proposed development plan, and that the assigned Public Works Agreement be approved and signed by all parties, and bonding for the project needs to be in place. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now,
The combination of these.
We're moving now.
For that area.
For that area.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a nice fit.
Really,
it pretty much finishes Twin Arch Business Park. Okay, now the introduction recommendation to the Board of Appeals for MA-BOA-2022-05, a special exception request for above-ground fuel storage tanks located on Lot 15, Twin Arch Business Park.
And this is being brought to you for a recommendation to be forwarded to the Board of Appeals. Board of Appeals number has not been determined currently. I did go out to the site this morning and did a site visit prior to tonight's meeting. It looks like they have installed, if you see the red lettering on here, it says the tanks the containment wall are already installed already. It looks like they have installed a roof structure as well with, wood material and a metal roofing and metal siding. So anyway, the applicant, at Lot 15A is requesting this special exception to allow for above-ground fuel storage tanks. Again, currently, they have installed 2,000-gallon diesel fuel and one 500-gallon DEF tank with a containment wall and an enclosed roof structure. This is sort of out of the norm. Normally, you would go through the process, you would come in here, you would go through what we're doing right now prior to constructing the complete finished item. But again, this is an allowed use for a special exception inside the industrial, inside of our code. So again, that's why the staff recommendation, the Planning Commission, is to forward this special exception request to the Board of Appeals with a favorable recommendation to allow for the fuel storage tanks at 2310 Backacre Circle, Mount Airy, Maryland, 21771. With the understanding the installation of a covering, which is now currently installed, over the containment area will need to be met by the town's engineering's approval, which I don't think has occurred, which has not occurred.
Okay.
Introduce yourselves.
Ron Thompson, Van Mar, with me tonight is Christina King.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
Madam Chair, I'll begin.
Yes, sir.
Just so I understand, is the special exception request an exception to the already approved final plan that did not include above-ground bulk storage? Or is it a special exception to approve bulk storage? I'm just trying to discriminate between the exception as if this goes to the Board of Appeals, is it an exception to the final plan that we're amending, or is it the use?
I believe it's the use.
It's the use. Okay.
To weigh in on this too, as well.
Yeah, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
It's application for special exception as to the use.
To the use. Thank you. My second question has to do with the existing above-ground storage installation, including the containment wall, and now what appears to be the beginnings of the top cover. Have we any, and I guess to the town staff, maybe Barney, or any knowledge whether the existing presence of the storage tanks and these containment walls and the cover have met any county or state requirements for above-ground bulk storage? Do we have any evidence that that is properly situated on the plat?
State and county do not require containment walls. And now the code in the state and the county is for double-walled tanks, which eliminated the need for containment walls. The town of Mount Airy's code continues to require containment walls. So when these were purchased, they were purchased as double-wall fuel tanks, which is what the current state and county code requires for fuel systems.
Understood. So if this does go forward to the Board of Appeals, we don't have those who have the knowledge of above-ground storage tanks giving any kind of, I'll use the word certify or assessment of the existing 2,500-gallon storage facility as to whether it's meeting any state or county requirements? I think that's where we are. Unless, Barney, has there been some assessment that says it meets our town requirements?
Not as of today. Again, it would go through the site plan or amended site plan process. And so it would go to appeals first, and then if that passes, then it would go to the amended site plan, and then that would go through all the agencies.
Okay,
And you can add that as a condition.
understood. Okay. But I don't want to have anybody speak for the Board of Appeals, but certainly I would imagine the Board of Appeals would want that kind of data. Is that reasonable? That it's properly installed, that everything associated?
The Board of Appeals would look at, not the town attorney, but there are requirements under a special exception for fuel tanks and under a special exception that we're required to meet. Then the other elements are reviewed by the town staff, the town engineer.
And the county.
Okay. The stormwater management plan has already been approved. What, is that correct?
For the
For the lot?
for the existing facility. We're working on the first amended site plan, as you all requested.
What I'm steering toward is if there was a stormwater plan that excluded the 2,500 gallons of fuel residing on the lot, is it reasonable that that stormwater management now has to take into account the fact that we have 2,500 gallons of fuel?
Not, stormwater management plan looks at impervious area. It does not look at what's above the surface of it.
Right.
And then we account for how we address either existing and proposed impervious areas on a site.
So a stormwater management plan wouldn't take into account the presence of above-ground fluids like fuel, oil, petroleum products?
No, as long as it is properly contained.
See, and that kind of and I'm not crossing a circle here, but that kind of goes back to my first question. How do we know it is, in fact, all properly engineered and properly contained?
Well, the town engineer will look at, we believe that the dikes are high enough. Town engineer has to weigh in on that yet.
Okay.
And we have the material invoices showing that they're double-walled tanks, meeting state code.
And I guess my last thing, because I'm a bit of a code guy here, it says that this exception has to also be accompanied by a list of all adjacent landowners around the area where this is being done, and I didn't see that in the submission.
It's,
That was provided to the town
yeah.
Provided?
for them to notify.
Happy with what he has?
Yep.
Okay. Those are all my questions, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Just briefly, one follow-up, because you do say that you coordinated the installation of the fueling station with Town of Mount Airy representative and MDE. So would that mean that MDE has approved the installation of it as it exists under state law? Okay, all right, thanks.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Carl.
Thank you. First off, if you say the MDE has approved, I would like to see a letter from the state stating that they have approved storage at your site. Second, if this is passed to the Board of Appeals, we are rewarding poor, bad behavior by the landowner that has consistently lately has basically done things first, asked permission second. Also, since we are I believe, a wellhead protection, watershed protection, there are many things that the town engineer should sign off before this even goes to the Board of Appeals for wellhead protection. And it would be my recommendation, or I would like to see somehow that this board recommends all structures removed, taken down, and/or fine the landowner for not following proper procedure and code.
All right, I'll jump in here because that is not true. Not true.
Which one?
The town, all of it. The town, the applicant asked the town, and they were told that they were not involved. Whoever they talked to in the town said, we're not involved, call the county and the MDE. They called the county, got the permit from the county, they called MDE, got the permit. Miscommunication all directions, but to say that they just launched off on their own, misguided, doing whatever, is incorrect. You owe them an apology.
No, I do not.
Well, I'll put it on the record in the notes that
Okay.
Mr. Munder's comments were incorrect.
Can we see those letters from the county and the state? Okay. Are you not in this town? Yes or no, Ron? How long have you been working in this town? 20 years plus years, right? So you should know that any fuel requires town approval. Did you not come before this commission a couple months prior for a fuel storage facility next door at J&J Trash? So you should be aware of that. And just because the town doesn't say it's building in the town.
Again, incorrect statements. This was installed back in March. We have the photos. I found out about it after it had been installed. And when I found out, I said, oops, that's not correct town procedure.
Okay, I apologize to you on that, Ron. Okay?
So
Sorry about the
the
procedure.
applicant thought they were following the proper coordination. They know better now, and that's why we're here with a special exception.
But it is built, non-approved, everything else. So that's the problem. You're asking for a special exception for a structure and a facility that could potentially be in violation, not saying it is or isn't, of design standards, safety standards, wellhead watershed protection standards, that, quite frankly, if the Board of Appeals says, oh yeah, it's good to go, what happens? And the town engineer says, doesn't meet the criteria. Just because it's double wall doesn't mean it, because we have certain water resource management requirements to be constructed into it. So that's the concern. That's why I'm saying it's rewarding bad behavior, is that even though they presumed it was correct, you're in the town has its own building codes, fuel storage, water resource. I'm not questioning the purchasing of the double wall tanks, purchasing prior to all this. That's fine. You let them sit, get the stuff done. If it's available to purchase, available to purchase when you buy it. But the problem is, go ahead and doing all this prior to town approval, even though I'm not sure who you talk with. We would love to know who at the town said, oh yeah, we don't mind, go ahead and do it. That would solve a lot of problems. But you went ahead and did it, and it's against town code no matter what, and you're asking for forgiveness after you did it. That's the problem. That's what's irking me for a lot. And I'm not knocking it, but maybe it's new ownership of the property or something, but it's concerning to me, to say the least, on this property. So and there was some other site conditions. I missed last month that there's some site violations over there with concrete pads that were poured, stormwater management concerns, and everything else.
No, there aren't.
I was told there was potentially, the concrete pad was over the water main for the fire hydrant there, which is a violation of town code, or was that deemed correct?
We haven't confirmed that.
You have not confirmed that. Okay, so there's other conditions that should be, before this moves ahead to even Board of Appeals, all other site conditions or potential violations should be addressed and solved prior to it moving to the Board of Appeals.
The water main was constructed after the tanks were in place.
Well, pavement over it, there are things that need to be addressed before, and it's basically the same thing. There's site conditions and violations, known violations, ongoing violations. All of it needs to be addressed before a special exception should be passed along to the Board of Appeals for approval. That's my say.
Commissioner O'Malley, do you have a question?
No.
You did not have one?
No.
Okay. Mr. Quinn, is there a way to get a look at what they have over there to see if it meets the town code?
He would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do that? that we could meet in the middle somewhere with this special exception?
Not gonna
and
be
Mr.
tonight. He's gonna have to
Councilman
do a
Munder's
site. Go
comments?
ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We could certainly go out, check out the height of the walls, make sure it can contain the largest tank. If there was something that leaked, even though it is a double wall, we still ask for a separate containment with a structure over top. We understand that, there was a decision made and maybe not the right decision, but we talked about coming here and moving forward, try to go through the right channels, and that's why they're here now, so. That's where we're at.
Maybe there's a way that you could get out and look at it?
I've already been out and looked at it.
You've already
I have seen
inspected
it. I didn't measure, but I did.
Okay,
I've
but you've
looked at it.
done most of the work involved with
Yeah,
the special
and
exception.
it's very similar to, I didn't look at the structure. I don't know when, I think that was done very recently. But as far as the containment, I mean, it's done similar to, was it Canyon Contracting or some other places that we have tanks there as well.
Okay, and to your knowledge, is there any, what did you say, water lines or conduit or anything underneath of
So
that pad? That may-
I actually witnessed the water line. I'll be honest, I don't even remember if there was a tank there now, when that water line is. I should have pictures. I could probably look back to see what I have there, but, so I can confirm that, I just haven't yet.
And Brian, besides, I'm not doubting Barney's expertise, but I would rather have him a set of plans submitted indicating the design standards that were put there before we rely on Barney's professional opinion.
Oh, Councilman, I agree with you.
Okay.
So yeah, this was built without permits. It was also put in place and started to be used without, anyone knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if we can bridge the gap a little bit.
Yep.
If they're applying to go to the Board of Appeals, that's great. I'm just inquiring about Mr. Quinn's opinion on it.
And if Board of Appeals denies it, then they'll have to take it out. So, otherwise, if they approve it, then we would review the plans and,
We go to
make
the
sure it
next
meets all the
steps.
specs.
Real quickly, just for procedural, are you going to submit something to the Board of Appeals as well? Like no, he's not.
I'm not, no.
You just-
But I have a question that follows on to that, which is, if it goes to the Board of Appeals and they approve it, and then you start your more complete review, if you find something, then they will have to fix that.
Yeah, and as far as wellhead protection, the nearest well is about 1 mile away. It's a pretty good distance, so, and that's in Watkins Park.
And
Sorry, I
as
didn't
Bernie
cut you
said,
off.
there are
Sorry to
other
cut you off. I did. Okay.
fuel storage systems already in that industrial park.
Yeah.
Which is where you expect to see them.
If I had a strong concern about it, I would certainly ask them to make sure everything's drained and don't use it until, after the whole process is done.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So the staff recommendation is that we forward this special exception request to the Board of Appeals with a favorable recommendation to allow the fuel storage tanks on the property. Does anyone care to make a motion? I'm going to move that the Planning Commission forward this special exception request to the Board of Appeals with a favorable recommendation to allow the fuel storage tanks on the property located at 2310 Backacre Circle, Mount Airy, Maryland, 21771, with the understanding that the installation of a covering over the containment area will need to meet the town engineer's approval.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we send this to the Board of Appeals with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the discussion of the Beck property process and the possible meeting dates. I will tell you that at the council meeting, the council has recommended and would like us to consider starting over with this process since it's a new developer and to have them start at the beginning with the public charrette.
Is that what we're discussing?
Yeah, we're going to discuss that first, I think.
Madam Chair, just a question, and it may go to the town attorney in this process. We understand going back to the charrette is what the town council has asked for. The question that I have, since we have met the statutory time limits of the previous submissions in the ordinance, the 30 days and all the advertisements, the question I would ask is whether or not the next one could be a combined design charrette public hearing where the design team, the development team, presents the project, and then it is open for community questions, whether that can be combined. That's my only
Like what we did.
question.
You mean over,
No matter what, it would have to, I would think would have to be at the fire hall, whatever it's called over there.
Activities building.
Activities.
Yeah, like similar to that.
last time?
Yeah, whatever, I assume it would be, but it would just seem to me logistically, logically, that, and we've been working on our presentation for it, that we present the project, the team, the project. There are some other things that we were asked to be presented, and then open it up for questions by, charrette would be the planning commission, and then the public. So.
Madam Chair, I would say that would probably be going against the intention of the council's wishes to restart the process.
That's true.
I believe
That's true.
we would voted on the understanding that it would start off at a charrette level again. So the public does have the ability to input their thoughts and comments on it. Then, after the charrette is done, hold a separate public hearing or combined public hearing, however everything is supposed to work once the charrettes are done, and we're confident that, you know, everything has been addressed before the public hearing. So I would advise against that. Thank you.
Comments from the
Any comments?
Comments from the commissioners?
I don't have anything.
Well, I think what Carl says makes sense because if people, if there's the charrette and then there's the hearing, people don't really have they don't really have the time and to like make comments and also to think about it and then to come back and.
Were you asking for a hearing? You weren't asking for a hearing, you were just asking for them to provide comments at that time.
I
It would
thought
not be a hearing.
No, he
I'm
was saying
asking
to
Ron.
combine it.
It's a disconnected process unless it's like
I was suggesting combining it. However, if the town is saying they need to be separate, that there be a, what's it called, a charrette and a public meeting? Or is it a hearing?
It's a
Whatever-
hearing.
Whatever it's called, then that's what it has to be. And under that, then the only questions under charrette would come from the planning commission.
I thought that, I mean, when we did the,
First charrette,
I thought people get to make
they made comments.
comments
Yeah,
and they write stuff.
absolutely.
That's what the charrette's about. It's
Right.
about getting public feedback on a particular plan.
So that,
It doesn't take public comment.
Yeah, it's not a workshop.
It's not a workshop.
Right.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, And I think, I think we can do the public charrette and have comments, and it's not a public hearing, okay? That's my opinion.
So then there would be a second.
Then we would have the public hearing, the combined public hearing. The first one is combined. And it should, we're both becoming, the calendar is filling up very quickly with both hearings and workshops and other things for both the Planning Commission and the town councils. And I'm going to ask that the town council please make sure, that they can all be there. I think it's very important. We make the effort to be there. I think that all the council members should make the effort to be there.
Especially if they want to start out.
Yeah, especially if they want to start where they want to start.
I will bring that up and make that point made again Monday.
But I feel that it should be a charrette and that the public should be allowed to ask questions and to the developer. But no decisions are going to be made, and it would not be a public hearing. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
So we're kind of at a standstill because I don't think that's what the council members want.
No?
Say that, so,
Is that what the council wants, or?
Is that okay with, are you, okay, all right, good.
They want to go,
Is what the town.
Is what they want.
Okay.
the charrette and public hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
No.
Yeah.
public hearing, no.
No, the charrette first, then a
And
separate-
public
yeah, then
comments.
it's public
Yes.
comments. and
Yes.
What you said, yeah,
The charrette as a tool
That's what a charrette is.
to gather insight.
that is correct.
Okay,
Sorry, I was taking notes to make sure I mentioned what Roxanne said, what the chair said, so.
I think the whole point of this, the bottom line of this, is that the clock is ticking loudly,
Yeah,
ecologically, every which way. The aging clock is ticking very, very loudly in terms of aging trends. And it's never been more true that what a planning commission, what the governing body of a community needs to concern themselves with, what is the very best direction to take on the development of this community? What still needs to be done? What needs to be refined? Quit wasting time. Quit masking both eyes being fully open. Just the fact that the fastest growing age group are seniors. And in less than 15 years, there will be more 60, 62 plus year olds than there will be 0 to 18-year-olds. The significance of that for our communities is huge. It's just huge.
Bill, can you pull your mic closer to you? It's really difficult for Deborah to do the minutes later.
Oh, okay.
And you can't hear you on the video either.
All right.
I've gone back a couple times and
All right.
it's
I'm
near
sorry.
impossible to hear you. That's okay.
Well, I'm in a big picture frame of mind. The more I think about master plan updates, and they're meant to look 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I mean, ideally, you don't even get done all of that, and you're re-looking at what the projection is beyond that the next time you do it. I remember 10, 12 years ago when we were at this point with the 2013 master plan for Mount Airy. I remember the way we went about it. I remember that we tasked each of the commissions. Okay? You have your specialty, your focus. We need to know your best ideas, your best thinking, and how that will enhance this town. Okay? And it needs to be very, very unselfish. And so much so for the governing bodies and the groups that coordinate this stuff. We didn't get the big picture. We
And
also said that we would literally do a major information exchange every single year. We would hold ourselves responsible that what we said we were going to do was actually happening. We did it for 3 or 4 years. Okay? We
then
still hadn't got the
COVID hit.
formula down.
A little bit off the subject, but also kind of on the subject. I want to remind the commission members that the ordinances that, about the neighborhood professional and the commercial ordinances, correct me if I'm wrong, they are going to be, they're going to hold a public hearing for those
Hold
on December the 6th.
on.
Or is that January?
That is January. I'm looking at the tentative for December, and it's December 5th is the meeting. No, the public, that would be January.
Karen, the public hearings?
There are public hearings, not,
There's public hearings in December.
there are public hearings in December, but nothing related to the CC or NP ordinances. Yeah, reminder, we're doing reminders, they are set for January 9th,
Okay.
the January council meeting.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Related to zoning? So, as Councilman Demoter pointed out, and we realized in our discussion, I don't know, a meeting or two ago, the industrial zone does also not, indicate that it can't be built next to residential. Now, what I realized, because you had said, oh, there's all this industrial and residential next to each other, but in every situation, the industrial was there first, isn't that right? Okay, so that's the difference. So if we do want to create these consistencies, we do want to also amend the industrial zone so that industrial cannot be created next to an already existing residential
Moving
or neighborhood professional.
Is that what you mean, like moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to amend it, but that I think is why that happened. It's not like industrial was popping up and being built next to residential. It was, the industrial existed, the residential was built, but of course, the industrial was zoned industrial, but nothing was built there. So it's kind of like this false sense of, but yeah, we will have to look at that
Yes.
zone as well, so.
And there are definite inconsistencies that we really should be looking at before we continue with the master plan. But we're just going to have to keep note of it and keep trudging along as we can.
And of course, nothing would be, it would all just be going forward. It's not like anything's going to
Right,
change what
exactly.
already exists.
Madam Chair, can I ask that at least for anything related to the Beck, that we can at least start considering some dates?
Yeah, that's what
And-
I'm getting ready to do.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, this will definitely be held at the fire company. So we're at there, I don't think that there's a lot of things happening in January. I'm not sure, but, okay.
You want to hold just our meeting in January, or you want to have this as a whole separate meeting?
No, this has got to be a whole separate meeting. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Now, technically, the first thing on our books in January would be a workshop on Thursday, January the 5th. Is everybody okay with that?
Well, I
For
think,
the master plan?
oh, for the master plan. No, I mean, I think it
Yeah, for the
depends.
master plan.
Well, I
You want
think,
to make that the meeting for we still need advertising for the meeting.
Is that too soon then?
What's that?
Is that too soon, January, or?
Well,
30 days, yeah, so that should be.
so the council meeting is
9th.
on the 9th. I would propose that the charrette and public comments meeting be sometime that week or the next week.
I'm thinking because they have a town council on the 9th, I was thinking the 5th in place of the master plan workshop.
Okay,
That would make sense to me, but
okay.
But it's really at the discretion of the fire hall.
Our senior.
Right.
I need to check with that. I just
Yeah, if
need-
they can
I
do
have to
it.
have dates
Well,
to be
that's
able to
during the
ask them.
day. This is at night. We're okay with that. And that's a Thursday. It's not a Friday, Arlene.
Time roughly for the January 5th?
We usually start at 6, but this might, we might.
I would say we need to start at 7, you know, because people are going to want to come and I want them to get home from work.
7 to
What, midnight?
7 to 10.
7 to 10-ish.
Okay, so that's not a lot of time.
That's only, that's 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, that should,
How are you going to properly prepare people to help them get ready? Be thinking outside the box to make the most of that.
I think, I mean, I know that Ron and his team have been working, so I'm not concerned about that side. And we're gonna, we're gonna send all the notices out in December.
Can I ask, Tom, what is the required, so you're aware, the required notification time?
15 days.
Before the
One is
charrette.
different for the charrette versus the public meeting.
we're a month out.
Says, the planning commission shall hold at least one charrette and a separate public hearing, at which members of the public shall be permitted to review the pre-concept sketch layout plan and make public comment. The charrette and public hearing shall be advertised as follows. First, at least 30 days' notice of the time and place of such hearing shall be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the town, and the property upon which a mixed-use development is proposed shall be posted conspicuously by a notice at least a certain size for at least 30 consecutive days before the date of the hearing.
Do it tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
Do it tomorrow, right?
I would say for each.
For both.
They posted by.
I don't think that's enough time.
That,
The 5th?
I mean, the 5th,
January 5th.
I mean, that's over, I'm not saying that, I mean, that's over 30 days.
You have to give 30 days' notice so that everything would have to go out by December the 5th.
Which is
I would have to
Monday.
go out before that, because that,
Well, I mean, that's next week, Homa.
can it go by Friday? Chop, chop.
You have all the information, don't you? I mean, you've got all the addresses, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just have to be done tomorrow. Well, to get it on the newspaper, so it's in before the 5th.
Yeah.
But we can probably get it done.
Well, you can do the newspaper tomorrow, but the mailing's just going to take a couple days.
Well, I still got to get the mailings out so that they receive them 30 days in advance
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I think there's a multitude of those, correct? And we did say we gave you the leeway to send out a postcard as opposed to a letter just on this, correct?
I don't remember that, but I can do that. I'd prefer a postcard, but if you want to do the letter, that's fine.
No, I'm saying that's what we decided.
Okay.
To do the postcard because there's so many of them. But only only for this one.
Okay.
Now, can the post?
Please make sure that it's posted on the website as soon as possible and on the Facebook page.
And make sure the building's available, too. It's kind of important.
I don't think there'll be anything on the 5th of January.
It's a Thursday, so yeah.
It's a Thursday.
Let's go back to this, the start time.
Yeah, I think 6:30.
6:30?
I think 6:30.
Okay. All right, that's
So the
fine.
first thing, it's going to be them presenting, or is it going to be stuff that's on the wall for people to look at, like it was with?
You're going to have the designs ready by then, or maybe beforehand?
See,
they're
he's
already
ready
done?
to roll.
Okay, so
They're
you
in the
can,
front lobby, you know?
oh, the new designs in the front
Yeah,
lobby, okay.
I emailed it to you.
Yeah.
They
guys
I would say
present the last time?
But
Can you
I
make
think
sure
what I'm
that's-
thinking
it's
of the
posted on the
downtown
town
vision
website,
plan.
though,
Yes,
before
that's
the
what I'm
meeting?
thinking of, yes.
But that was like a real charrette.
There for a month.
So I guess we're not doing that, huh?
I would say just so so people have the maximum time to speak, not to be unfair to the design team, but no presentation, no official presentation be given, just,
That would be unfair to us.
okay, yeah, I'm just,
Because the town council said they wanted to hear about the developer, they want to hear.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
That's, they did.
Town council member here said, I want to hear about a summary of 8 vehicles.
okay, no, I'm just,
It would be 45 minutes or more to get through all.
I know.
Can I make a comment?
no, I'm
He's
just
when
trying
they're
to make
finished,
sure that
yes.
people have the ability to speak. You know what I mean, Ron? Thank you. Okay.
Okay, David.
Okay, I'm an engineer, and I worked with architects after I graduated, and they talk about charrettes. Our first town planner was an graduate architect, and I looked up the definition. The term charrette is derived from the French word for little cart. In Paris during the 19th century, professors at the École du Beaux-Arts circulated with little carts to collect drawings from their students. The point of a charrette is it's very conceptual. We talk about the legal definitions. Our first town planner had a charrette where you put designs on the wall, people look at it, they provide comments. It's not something then you turn around and rush to the council and say, here, approve this, so we can build 700 houses. That's not the point of a charrette.
That's not what this charrette is going to do.
Yeah, but
Okay?
it's very, and everybody wants to rush into it. You have to digest it a little bit. You have to inhale the bouquet and get the
Correct,
flavor of
that's
it.
why
This is not something that you grab people off the street and
That's
say,
not what's happening.
with your comments,
This is, we're having them so that they can circulate and look at the pictures
Yeah.
and comment there. Then there will be a public hearing.
Well, I mean, a charrette of this magnitude, you're talking about 80 acres. This is the biggest, by far, the most immense development this town has ever had. We've never had anything on this scale. Maybe a couple hundred houses. This is 700 houses.
We don't know that. That's
Well,
what, okay?
Okay, 600. You're not going to have one charrette where you have this, and then you whoosh everybody out and say, okay, now what are you going to do? This is something that's going to take some time to
Correct, that's why
understand.
we're having multiple meetings.
I mean, you're going to have
multiple-
to and stretch it out a little bit.
That's right, and that's why we're starting here.
Yeah.
And we want to hear their comments.
What I'm hearing is from the.
30 seconds.
Okay, the developer wants to have this thing and then rushed and like.
I don't think so. I don't think, that's
Okay.
not the intent.
Nothing
That's
goes
not the
fast in this
intent.
town. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, to Dave's point, as we were just kind of discussing,
We were
the
trying to,
downtown vision plan, when they did their charrette, it was more like what Dave was talking about,
2 to 3.
and
Bum lot up on there and like, oh, look at
Yeah.
this, what's this?
they had like stuff on the wall and people could make comments and they could,
Event.
and it was, an event. It wasn't
it took like
just-
3 or 4 days.
Yeah, we can
Yes.
start with one and,
I mean, if we need to
from
have
there.
another one, then we will have another one.
Yeah.
If we don't feel that we've gotten what we need from the first, we will schedule a second one. This is, a new, we've always said, this is a new zone and we're working through it. It's like dating. That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Get rid of the first girl and you go to the second.
So on that note, I just want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page, because I know that many of the citizens that I'm in touch with who emailed their council members, talked to their council members, asking for a charrette, a big component of that was, we're expecting interaction
That's
at a
right.
classic charrette, right, with the developers. We want to get to know each other.
Yes.
We're going to be neighbors. Right? So I just want to make sure that that's what this is going to, I'm hearing comments and hearings, and We just want interaction and back and forth
I think some
with these
people.
new, with these new
yes,
developers.
Yes,
Like a team approach.
Right.
yes. You will, that will
Collaboration
definitely
between
be.
the
That's-
citizens
Yes.
and the town
Yes.
government.
Thank you.
I mean, most of the time is going to be with interaction.
That's,
At the beginning, you're going to get to know who they are and what the design team and who that is, 45 minutes. After that, then they're going to go around and ask questions.
thank you.
And then come back together maybe if they have other comments. But we'll run at 6:30 to 10.
Tentatively for January 5th, correct?
Tentatively.
Unless I hear different from John by council.
Well, we also have to make sure, yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna call tomorrow morning and
Okay.
see if I can secure the hall,
Okay.
Can I just ask real quick,
and let CMC know as well.
postcards? So we're sending everybody postcards, right? I mean, I just want to know if they're like going to be noticeable. Are they different color, or are they just, is it white? Like, I mean, I've.
No, they're white. They're fine. I mean, it's just to,
Will they be seen or will they be stuck in something and people will miss them?
Right, that's. Like the water bill.
I'm trying to,
That's how you
it's
live,
not,
right?
I mean, if you can do an oversized postcard, that would be the best.
I can get an 8.5 by 11 card stock.
No, half that. Just do a half.
5 by 7.
Do a page, but put 2 postcards on it, and it'll be an oversize, and it'll stick out so they can see it. That's what I used to do with all my direct mail. I'm sorry, we can do this, John. I'll have to help you if we have to. And if you need help, maybe some of the other commission members can help as well.
I'll be at work. I can't help.
I know.
We got this.
Okay, we got it. We've got it. All righty.
Blaze orange, is that the color?
Yes, Ron?
That'd be great.
Can you please come to the table?
Time, and because there's no meeting in December, I would ask that you think about whether or not setting a far-out date for the public hearing, because there is also the same 30-day notice to notify everybody. In the past, there was a shred of public hearing, and it was really, it may have been at the workshop that we either got sent backwards or whatever, but I don't think you want to get sent backwards from a shred until you've had opportunity to take true public comment. So, and there is, again, that 30-day period that, you know, it could be 3 weeks after, but John needs to know about that advertisement date, or Deb, probably.
I would say we don't set a public hearing date that far out just yet, because we're not even aware if we're going to be having 1, 2, 3 charrettes and things of that. So I think we need to more.
But how can you say if you don't have public comment in order to guide you whether or not there would be?
I mean, I'd look at like February 15th, something like that, 15th through the 22nd. That's like, oh, that's almost 2 months. It's a month and a half.
Well, I think maybe in the meantime, you get a group of, a team together, and you start to plan and actually chart that process. Questions, activities, so forth, that hopefully will make this come alive.
Mr. Butts, so you mean planning the charrette out? Like it's an orderly thing?
No,
No, no.
Well, I mean, no, I get it, like there's,
Planning that you will accomplish the goal.
that we're going to accomplish a goal. That's what I mean,
What will it take to get what you want?
yeah.
You plan activity to accomplish that.
Well, I can't begin to tell you that.
With you.
But I mean, you know, we should have at least one other day to go with the fire company. You know, we don't want to wait we have some, at least one other date so we can put it on the book, so we know it's there. Okay? Anything else? Yes, sir?
My public comment would be not to set another date until the first one's done. The builder's kind of telling us that either A, he's not going to care about what our recommendations are from the charrette, and he's ready to move forward, or B, he's overconfident that he's going to nail it the first time. And I'm not confident as a resident.
Okay.
I think we should set the date yet.
I think we actually had comments, similar comments from people last time, because there were all these different things being scheduled, and it was hard to keep track. Is it Green Tree? Is it Beck? If it's Thursday, it must be Beck. So, yeah, I agree.
One at a time.
Yeah.
Pace it, not pace it, but one at a time. You finish one, set the next date.
Yeah.
And so on and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to look real quick. We're not going to do the workshop in January. Our January Planning Commission meeting is January the 30th, which then leads to 3 days later, our workshop would happen. So I would like to, right now, say that we want to do our workshop, 2 days later, on the 9th of February.
Right. Yes.
You do have 25 minutes before the meeting, is that?
We'll get it done.
Okay.
We can cut Carl off.
That will not be a problem. I was going to say for expediency of time, I'll just say the next date of the council meeting, and that's it.
All right. And there was something else I wanted to say about the January meeting, but I can't think about it. The workshop is going to be February the 9th. 6 to 8. Yes, it'll be here.
And we're talking about the workshop for the master plan.
Workshop master plan. Reminder, we don't talk about anything else at that workshop. Right, Tom?
Correct.
February 9th at 6.
At 6.
All right, and then we have Thursday, January 5th at 6:30.
Monday.
For the charrette.
Thursday.
What was that, January the 6th, what?
January 5th, 6:30.
For the charrette.
No,
No, I'm looking at my calendar and I'm looking at January
6th,
5th,
6
Thursday,
to 8.
January 5th, 2023 at 6:30 PM to 10 PM. Be there, be square.
Not attend.
And then you'll be square.
That's right,
Aren't you going to be serving drinks?
probably.
I thought that, yeah. All righty. Our next item of business, as according to our rules and procedures, that we have a election for chair and vice chair. At this time, I will open the floor up for nominations for chair first.
I'll nominate Roxanne. Shows we've made such progress.
I'll second that nomination.
Moved and seconded. Let me think.
Oh, you have to accept it?
Yes. I'm willing to accept it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
Aye.
I'm going to send you my psych bill. The next item is a vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Butts?
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Wait a minute, was that Bill?
Good with it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm just hearing it right, okay.
All right, all those in favor signify, as Bill Butts is vice chair, signify by saying aye.
Accept?
Aye.
Aye.
He accepted. Okay, thank you. Now we go into the reports and other business. Carl, you're up first.
Yeah, hold on. As I said, next town council's December 5th starts at 6:20 due to some public hearings. The only one that would be relative to planning would be ordinance 2022-25, which is the changes to the MXD. That's being held at 6:20.
See, I knew there was one, and you said there weren't any.
You said for the CC and NP.
Well-
Okay, I apologize, and I
That's an important one. We need
Yes,
to
I
be there for
mistook-
that one.
I mistook what you were indicating, what was coming up. So yes, there is one for planning, the MXD ordinance at 6:20. The previous meeting was held November 7th. Various ordinances were voted on and passed, and hearings were set. As I indicated earlier, the next meeting is December 5th at 6:20, and then the January meeting has been moved to January 9th due to the fact that the first Monday is New Year's Day. And that, my indications is showing that starts at, looks like 6:30 due to various public hearings. And that concludes my report.
We've got the zoning administrator's report for September. October, okay. And then we have the work session is not going to be, that's hoping to be the charrette on the 5th of January. Am I stealing your thunder, John? And our next meeting date for commission is January 30th, 2023 at 7 o'clock. I have a question for you, Tom. If during the workshop, our next workshop, could we add things to that? Does it have to be for one special thing? Like I'm thinking if we go and do like goals and what we want to accomplish, can we do that at the workshop level?
Well, I would put it on the agenda
Yes.
in advance, so that, in other words, you're not talking about things that aren't agenda in advance.
No, yeah, it would be on the agenda. Okay. All right. So be thinking of those too, folks, about what we want to accomplish. All righty. Seeing nothing else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 10:10. And like I said, we'll see you all. I hope to see some of you at the council meeting. If not, have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you in January.